everybody, and welcome back. It is the last RageSelect podcast of 2024 here on RageSelect. I'm Jeff.
I'm Blake.
Blake, it's the last podcast of 2024.
And I am so honored to be on the last podcast. Was I on the first podcast of 2024?
That's a good question. I don't know. I see. Usually, when new people come over to RageSelect, I like to start you guys by having you play a bunch of fun video games with me, and then once I got you in a little bit, I'm like, okay, now it's time for the 3-hour podcast where I talk about how many people got laid off and all the horrible bullshit that's happening.
I don't think I was the first of the year because I just had my kid.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think that I was on until like February, maybe late January. But anyway,
okay.
I digress. But I'm on the last ones. That's all that matters, right?
Yeah. So we're doing the podcast this week. Next week we're going to have full videos for Christmas, but there is no podcast because I'm not making people record on the December 26th. That would be stupid. And then the week after that,
they would box you on Boxing Day.
Yeah, the week after that is Best of RageSelect 2024, and then we're right back at it starting on the 6th. Just a little schedule update for everybody.
Who chooses the Best of RageSelect?
I do.
Oh, I was like, is it me? Because I'm going to choose all my videos.
No, the thing is, it'll probably be, I don't remember when we first started recording, but it's a thing where I usually do, because we have 7 days, and I'll usually do, this is the best of like Amanda, and this is the best of Blake, and this is the best of, Michael.
I get a best of. This is going to be fun.
Yeah. And it's hard to sort stuff on YouTube, but I usually just look through all the videos. I look at the ones that were the most popular, and then I look at the ones where I remember something really good happened, and then I usually make a big list.
Splice it in.
So,
nice.
Yeah, it's just on the website, so it's just a big links of videos. But that is the future. This is the present, and full disclosure, Blake and I just got done recording this entire segment, and I was recording over my webcam as if I was a dumb 30-year-old and not a seasoned 46-year-old veteran. So, my bad. We're going to go through everything that we went through before, but
this time it's fine because we went through a rough draft and now we're doing the full go around.
Yeah,
so we got it.
Yep. And you know what? I think that we're just going to start by talking about probably some movies and TV shows. And I didn't really get a chance to watch very much this week, but the internet saved me with something that we used to do more often, which is there's a trailer for Superman. There's a new Superman movie.
And I'm glad that you have me, the Superman expert of the RageSelect community. The one and only. No, I'm just playing. Spider Mike takes that title. But this movie actually looks good, and that's because James Gunn is good. Good for Superman.
I'd like for you to keep talking smack about Michael until I could get RageSelect needs a creator clash. Blake, we need all of us like out of shape people to get in the boxing ring.
No, here's the problem with having a creator clash with Spidey Mike. He's better at like the fighting games, right? So you can't really be like, all right, we're gonna take this on to like Dragon Ball Z Fighter Z, right? He's gonna be like, yeah, I've literally played 100 hours of that, and I'm like, okay, how about FIFA? That doesn't really like come into the, you know what I mean? Come into the world of that. So I think he got me.
Maybe you do one Dragon Ball Fighter Z, you do one Magic the Gathering, and then you physically fight each other for the tiebreaker.
Yeah. Nah, we would probably just be like, let's play Dragon Ball Z again. That sounds fun.
Anyway, there was we finally got our first look at a new Superman. Oh, Blake, I've said this to you before. Superman is my favorite superhero. I know, I'm a child of the 90s, and for a long time I would have probably said Batman or something, all edgelordy like that. But it's funny because I worked with, I've told this story before, but back when I worked at Dell, I sat right next to, this is when I was like 18, I sat right next to this guy.
Clark Kent.
Chris Robertson was his name, and he's now he writes comics. Like he helped develop, I think, that iZombie show and a few other things. He was part of the group that founded the Fables stuff. Was a bunch of Austin guys. And he used to leave his comic books from the comic book store on his desk when he went home, and I would read them. He let me read them, and there were a lot of DC books, and I was like, holy shit, I never knew that there were so many super great Superman stories until I started reading the comics. And then, we had the reboot with
Brandon
Routh, where it was just the first one again, and then at the end it's just he just ignores the kryptonite and does all the weird shit with his kid, and then Zack Snyder took his hands and shoved them directly into the dough, and he didn't wash them beforehand, so he got all that.
It was gross. It was gross hands.
There was so much edgy juice started coming out of it. But this looks like some Superman-ass Superman. This looks like the Man of Tomorrow, Truth, Justice, and the American Way, the Big Blue Boy Scout, like a good old-fashioned, here's the guy from rural America who moved to the big city, and now he's fighting the crimes. He's got a dog.
The dog is very cute. The dog is extremely cute. James Gunn's great. We need a Superman movie like this. But I will tell you that growing up, I did not like Superman because he is the quintessential character of that kid at the playground that's like, bang, 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 I got you. No, I have Imperious bullets. I have metal skin. Okay, cool. All right, well, then I hit you with the force of I have this, like, everything is not possible to beat this person. He's just like the ultimate of ultimates.
Okay. Blake, I love you very much, but I've been hearing this exact argument for a long time. So allow me to just say a few things.
Did you hear from the other brother? Because that rings true.
I believe I've had this exact same conversation, but allow me to lay out a few things about Superman. Number one, nobody's making a Superman movie where Superman has to fight like guys robbing a 7-Eleven. Like, no comic is about that, and no movie would be about that. Like, we see kaijus and fucking space aliens. Like, Superman can get beat up by Brainiac or Darkseid or Mongol, or like there's a lot of intergalactic, like, big Superman's the guy when the big thing shows up that he fights that. He's not fighting the Penguin. Like, that would be stupid. Two, Superman
so triggered.
is, yeah, I know, I really am. Superman is he's very susceptible to magic, even if they don't like bring that out. But like, there's the famous Kingdom Come comic book where like Captain Marvel technically has the ability to beat up Superman because Captain Marvel is magic and Superman is like weak to magic. He's also weak to kryptonite. He's also weak to moral quandaries. That's why Superman's greatest villain.
Okay, right there is literally the backflipping of moral quandaries. That's your weakness. Batman, weakness like fucking life, right? Like Superman, moral quandaries. That sounds like a Magic the Gathering card.
Who is Superman's greatest arch nemesis?
I don't know, like the Lego that he steps on,
like a human businessman. It's Elon Musk, basically. Superman's greatest, like his greatest arch nemesis is just a guy, a bald guy. Like, it was Gene Hackman in the original.
Oh my god! And then it was the he who should not be named, Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, and now it's Brendan Routh. No,
not Brendan Routh. Michael.
Nicholas Hoult.
Nicholas Hoult. We've done this before.
We did this like 40 minutes ago. We forgot this up. But yeah, I think that Superman stories aren't necessarily about like how hard, how like is Superman in danger of dying, even though Superman can get beat up and does get beat up. So.
And he keeps coming back.
It keeps coming back. The whole thing that's great about Superman is that it's like Superman's this guy with this very naive attitude, but he's also so strong that like people can't physically force him to go against his morality because he could just stand there and let people throw fucking fast food bags at him or whatever.
Whatever that was. It also looks like it has a lot of fun with other characters being brought into the fold.
Yep.
Hot girl. There looks like a Green Lantern.
Guy Gardner Green Lantern, no less, which is this is a wonderful choice. Guy Gardner is like, he's a giant asshole. He was like he got kicked out of the Green Lantern Corps for being such an asshole, and he's being played by Nathan Fillion, and they gave him the dumb haircut from the comics. They gave him the dumb orange bowl cut. I'm like,
spot on.
James Gunn has been like building up all this credibility in order to be like, Fillion, put this on. It's like, I'm not putting that on. I'm an attractive man. That's gonna be look stupid. Put it on. Trust me, everyone's gonna fucking love this. And he's like, All right, James, I don't get any of this nerd shit. Give me the orange. Give me the orange.
He's also James Gunn also Yamcha'd Superman at the very beginning of the trailer because he's definitely in the Yamcha position in the Dragon Ball Z world.
But yeah, I'm super excited for this. The trailer made me have a lot of feelings, which is something I haven't had about a lot of the DC stuff in a long time. DC is so difficult because like I like the DC universe more than the Marvel universe, but having it be this whole Zack Snyder grimdark festival over the last like 8 years, it's been like, oh my God, if I can you just like there is a grimdark character. I say let Zack Snyder do whatever he wants with Batman. I think he would be the perfect guy to make all the Batman movies that you can handle, but he's not the guy to make the Superman movies. You need someone who's
I just think Zack Snyder should not make movies. I'm good. I'm way good on that, dude.
Are you telling me that you're not waiting for Rebel Moon Volume 3? No?
I was done after I mean, Watchmen was good. I liked that. It wasn't like, oh my God, it's the greatest of all time. It was fine. And then the rest of the movies, like I saw that whatever movie he put out with the girl, and that had like a kick-ass trailer, but the movie was just terrible. God,
Sucker Punch?
Yes. Oh my God, that movie's awful. That movie is awful.
It's a feminist masterpiece.
If you watch that movie and see the ending, it is awful. Awful message. Awful.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I could be more excited. I'm so glad that somebody who seems to like a guy in a cape is getting to direct Superman. Everything, the whole look of this, couldn't love it more. Couldn't love the casting more. It looks like it's going to be a great time, and I can't wait to see what we get. Well, you know what? I think we've got a couple of minutes before we need to start jumping into the news. But before we do that, I want to say that I did watch the rest of Secret Level. I think I mentioned that briefly on the last podcast, that I watched some of it. I found it to be very uneven. I had a whole rant that I went into last time, but I'll just say for now that like some of them were very good and some of them were not so good.
So explain, though, to the viewers, what is a Secret Level?
It was a series of CGI shorts made by the Love, Death, and Robots creator and Deadpool Wolverine, Tim Miller. And it was basically based on a number of different video games. Some of them, like I said, worked out really well. I think the closer that the shorts got to just explaining what that video game is, the worse they were. Like, strangely enough, the New Worlds one was very good. I really liked the Armored Core one, obviously. I liked the Outer Worlds one.
You mentioned the Armored Core one had Keanu Reeves in it, which I was like, really?
Yeah. No, it's great. It's just like, it's so Keanu Reeves that he looks just like him. And
he's like, you're breathtaking in Armored Core.
Why am I not mute? To mute. Yeah, he looks exactly. I mean, all the people who are, well, actually, that's not true, because like in that, the other one that I mentioned, Arnold Schwarzenegger is doing the voice of the main character.
Yeah, but he doesn't look like him, I'm sure.
He doesn't look like him. He looks like a real young guy. But yeah, this Keanu just looks just like Keanu. And then you get a bunch of like crazy Armored Core stuff happening where you got flying around and blasting stuff. I'm a big sucker for Armored Core, and I love it. So obviously that one was going to be high up on my list. But Blake, what about you? You got anything quick that we can mention before we jump in?
I've been playing a lot of Path of Exile 2.
Okay.
That's a lot of fun. I actually went home right after our video, which you should check out because Path of Exile 2 is great, as well as our videos. And I actually went home and did the exact same character. I'm playing as a witch, doing a lot of
summoning.
The summoning thing, and then also like bone shards that come up. Mm-hmm. And I've noticed that game, what it does so much better than Diablo, like you were saying, is it's like darker.
Yeah.
But the boss battles are so crazy. Mm-hmm. Like there is no spoilers, but like there is a werewolf boss battle that like legitimately I was playing and showing my friend who was like doing something else, and he was very tentative to get the game because I'm already like 10 hours in, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, after like kind of being tentative, he's like, yeah, I might actually get this game because like the boss battle was that badass. So it was it's been a lot of fun. And on the anime side of the house, I've been watching a lot of Dan to Dan. I'm up to date, and I've been watching a lot of My Hero Academia to try to catch up as well. So
yeah, you
I've
told
been
me
having a lot of fun.
You told me you were only like 4 episodes from the end of the current season.
Like 4 or 5, and the thing about My Hero is that it just keeps like diving and like spiraling. It's like a huge fucking drain. You know what I mean?
The thing about that last season that I and I won't go into specifics, but anybody who's watched it will know what I'm talking about. You'll probably know what I'm talking about. Is like, I was like. It was like the Oprah Winfrey show of redemption arcs. It's like, you get a redemption arc, and you get a redemption arc, and you get a redemption arc. Like, I don't know if you got to the point yet where like somebody who was mean at a press conference one time gets like a 90-second redemption arc where it's just like, no, everybody's going to get taken care of by the end of this thing.
Yeah, I'm actually watching it with my friend Paul, and he's read the manga, and he's like, they literally close the loop on every freaking character that you could ever imagine and done. So yes, it takes a while, but I feel like the payoffs are it's pretty good. I think it's one of the most well-rounded animes from hopefully start to finish. I don't know if they're actually like dead capping it, no pun intended, but we'll see.
Well, the manga's done, right?
Yeah,
so
the
it's just
done. Yeah.
they just got to finish this off. But
I mean, is it ever done? Is Superman ever really dead?
Well, there's a spin-off of MHA in the manga called like was it Vigilantes or Renegades or something like that? Yeah. So maybe, I mean, it's one of the most popular things out there. The big thing is they announced the winter anime, and then there's the one that I'm looking forward to next season more than anything is actually going to be on Netflix, and it's what's it called? Yeah. It's called Sakamoto Days.
Okay.
And it's basically it's about a guy who was a gangster, who was like an assassin, and he retired, and he decided and he got married, and then he opened a convenience store with his wife, and he turned into this big fat guy. And suddenly, like, the mob shows back up, and they want to go after him, but his wife has made him promise that he will never kill anybody ever again. And so it's basically just John Wick with this giant gray-haired fat guy, like convenience store owner, like smashing down on a bunch of gangsters, all while trying to juggle like his family life and stuff. And I'm like, I've heard nothing but good stuff. It looks great.
That sounds beautiful, man. That actually sounds like an anime that I think I could get behind.
Yeah.
Not that it takes a lot, but I actually love the comedic elements of animes more than like the horror or the drama, right?
Yep.
So this looks right up my alley.
Yep. All right. Let's jump into these newses. First off, I probably should have gone last in when I was asking, because our first story here is that Secret Level show has been renewed for a second season by Amazon, which is...
I have to get this out there. Tim Miller, if you are listening, Magic the Gathering. It needs a cool video.
I gave you a second chance at this, and you're still trying to get...
I'm fucking taking it.
It's a card game.
It's not. It's more than that, Jeff. There's lore.
Of course there's lore. Everything has lore.
Look, I was just say Urza.
Yeah.
Like literally you could put a video. You would be like, damn, that's cool. Maybe you find a video like, okay. But I actually think that would at least like bring me happiness. And isn't that what Tim Miller is setting out to do? Not to make money, not to be successful, not to actually do the job he's supposed to do, but to make
Blake happy. Make Blake happy.
Make me happy. Yeah. It's a Christmas present. Also, Halo. They could do Halo.
Actually, I think that I think I would be more apt to watch a Magic the Gathering show, 18-minute Magic the Gathering short, than I would be to play any version of...
I'll take it. I'll take it. Like, legitimately, if that gets you into Magic in any way, shape, or form, I'll take it. Yeah. No qualms about that.
Yeah. Apparently,
what do you want to see? Sorry.
You know what I want to see. I didn't have an answer last time, but I just thought of it. I want to see Bloodborne. I want to see Bloodborne that is somewhere that is not the one PS4 game from a million years ago. I'd love to see like a side story. They could take something like Eileen the Crow or Father Gascoigne and just make a little 8-minute, here's the downfall of one of the tragic characters from Bloodborne. check it out, you guys.
Tim Miller, make it so.
Yeah.
Make it so.
Apparently, they got 155.3 million minutes in the U.S. alone during the first week, which if you squish all the runtime of all the shorts together would be about 1.4 million views if everybody watched every one of them, which... to be honest, like I think Amazon has spent more on crappier returns when it comes to shows and movies and stuff. But Blake, I also don't know. I'm also not entirely sure these days about like Netflix and Amazon and other places, Paramount to that Halo show.
Paramount.
Seem like they're more than willing to just shovel huge amounts of cash into stuff that's just that was
not
no
what
good.
The people want.
That was no good. But then they're like, 60 billion people watch the first 3 seasons of this Korean soap opera, and I'm just like, well, I don't know. Maybe I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about because, like, I don't know who greenlit that weird. What's the Dwayne the Rock Johnson red one?
The red one. I mean, those movies are super successful though, right?
Yeah.
Like it might be drivel compared to the other shit that you could be watching from like a cinematic standpoint.
Yeah.
But those things sell because sometimes the monotonous of just putting something on, specifically with the holiday season on Netflix, it's just, and that counts, right? That counts as a view. You put it on and don't actually watch it. I guarantee you that most people that watch that Red One movie aren't actually paying attention to it. Like they're looking at their phones. I guarantee it.
Do you remember that movie like 2 years ago where Chris Pratt was like a time traveling action guy fighting like aliens? It's called like the Forever War. Am I remembering that correctly?
You're making this up. I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, that's Joe Haldeman. That's a different book. No, I swear to God, this is a thing. Chris Pratt, time travel, the Tomorrow War.
Is that the one with the Tom Cruise movie?
That's Edge of Tomorrow.
That's Edge of Tomorrow. Or it's better known as Live, Die, Kill, Repeat or something.
All you need is kill or live, die, repeat.
Live, Die, Repeat, yeah.
Because that was based on like a light novel. Yeah, I never even watched this, even though I'm like, time travel and Chris Pratt. That's right up my alley, but I don't know. Anyway, something.
$200 million of that budget.
Yep.
Sheesh.
I bet it. I don't know, but like, how the hell do you track whether it made $220 million? Like, you're not asking people to buy it. Like, everybody with Amazon Prime can just stream it. So if a bunch of people stream it, are you like, oh, all those streams count as something? I would
say
know.
the internal metrics of how many views over it's probably the similar things of YouTube, right? They probably have metrics to know how long something is watched or how many things are watched at once, but I don't think it's pulling in the numbers. Like, I never even heard of that. But I've heard of the Red One Christmas movie or whatever, but
yeah. I mean, who's going back and watching Hubie Halloween every year?
Don't you tread on my territory, Jeff. Don't you do that. That's mine.
Anyway, speaking of terrible movies and video games, Black Myth Wukong was in the middle of a little bit of a controversy.
Shots fired. You just said that was a terrible game?
Yes.
Ooh,
what I'm looking for is 1 million Chinese downvotes on this video so that everybody in the world knows the name RageSelect, and I get think piece articles written about how, like, I don't think Jeff actually meant that. I think he might have been being sarcastic when he said that.
You're playing with fire there. I think you might. I don't know if you want to tempt fate.
Speaking of playing with fire, there was a big blog post put out by the CEO of Game Science, Feng Ji, on the Chinese Weibo platform, and it had some kind of weird stuff in it. Like there was this part where he says, like, the games nominated this year were all exceptional, but honestly, I can't figure out what the criteria were for Game of the Year. I feel like I came all this way for nothing. And there was like another one where he talks about like writing a Game of the Year. Personally,
I wrote my Game of the Year acceptance speech 2 years ago, only to never get the chance to deliver it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's sarcasm. It feels very like angst to me.
So there's a big question here about whether this is sarcasm. And to be honest, these are like 2 or 3 lines out of like this big ass post, and it's all been like translated. And I've read a few things from people online who said that like, hey, if you know Chinese and you read this kind of in Chinese, that you would know that this is more sarcastic and self-deprecating than it is actually, for real. But you have to have more of an understanding of the way that like Chinese sarcasm and the humor and stuff like that works. And that's all well and good, but the thing is that I think that as the Chinese game development market takes more steps into the AAA sphere of influence, that then they need to know, like, I saw somebody online that was just like, well, if you speak Chinese and you read what was originally written on the Weibo post, you would know that that's sarcastic. And it's like, okay, I'm not going to learn Chinese just to understand whether the Black Myth Wukong guy is being sarcastic. So if you can't communicate that in a machine translated, in a chat GPT translated,
I think it's very lazy of you,
post.
Jeff. I think you totally could learn Chinese just for that scenario.
What are you doing? You're talking about Secret Level? You're talking about Red One? You could be watching the Tomorrow War and learning Chinese.
You literally could have a montage tomorrow and you can learn it. I guarantee it.
I think that if Chinese companies have decided that they want to start branching out into the mainstream of game development, that then they need to take that into account. That you can't just say, well,
you can't plaster your message all over the internet and not really understand the focused point of that to the audience, right? Like,
exactly. And also, like, I think that the Black Myth Wukong team, like, I think that everyone was a little blindsided by how popular it ended up being. Like, it looked fine, but then it came out and it was like, it sold 60 billion copies, and it's like, oh shit, okay. But once you hit a certain level in industry, you can't just be writing your own blog posts anymore. You need to like hire somebody who's like, okay, well, I speak Chinese and I speak English, and I can craft this in a way that like an English speaking audience is going to understand that what you're saying is sarcasm without having to learn Chinese first. So
it removes the reactionary stuff. It just removes the liability things that you're going to be out there for. But yeah, it's especially from a CEO, you got to just be very cordial. You can't be throwing the shade. You can't do that.
It's a lesson that I feel like I keep watching people learn over and over again, which is like, once you hit a certain level of financial / cultural success, you are not free to just go on Twitter and be like, or you can, like some people can, like Hideo Kojima just is constantly like, yeah, I watched The Martian last week. I thought it was great. And I thought Matt Damon is the best and I love him so much. Right. But like, this gigantic blog post should have been put through some copy. Somebody should have taken a look at this before this got posted. Like, at a certain
they probably whittled it down to, I really had a good time, thanks. Like, literally, you know what I mean? Like, just remove a bunch of fluff.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. In other news from the Game Awards, we got the news that Night Rain is going to have a beta in February, and then the registration for that beta starts January 10th. This is going to be...
Are you going to get on this action?
Well, I don't normally, but since this one, like most of the previous Souls games have had some kind of multiplayer component. Mm-hmm. This one is the multiplayer component. So if I want to play Night Rain, which I do, I'm going to be playing it multiplayer. So this one I might actually look at, even though I'm a little wary because, like, I know how much they changed in Elden Ring between the network test and the final game. Like, there were big plot things that got pulled out of the game that were like in the network test and they weren't in the final game. But I think I'll still sign up. But then if I don't get it, I'm not exactly going to be like, con.
You might be a little bit, just a little bit, just a little bit.
But they start January 10th, and this is only for the PS5 and the Xbox Series X/S. I looked it up, and apparently all of the network tests have been console only, and the main reason for that is because it's a lot harder to data mine the network test to find like names of bosses, names of
like reverse
environments,
engineering.
names of weapons. I'd be like, oh, well, the name of that weapon means that this boss is probably going to be in that area, and that means that this part of the plot is probably a fake out, and then I could post that online and everybody can see it. So
they don't want the crowd to get their teeth into it yet. They want to hide that a little bit. No, that's actually that's ingenious, because I mean, PC, you can just it's a sandbox, right? This closed off protected console, that's going to help you with the trademark. So
yeah, absolutely. I don't know. See, now the question is, are you going to play Elden Ring Night Rain?
I don't think so. And the reason why is there are so many games out right now, and I know that like it kind of just feels like a wealth. I did not expect Path of Exile 2 to be on my desk right now. Like that is just not something that I anticipated. But the Indiana Jones game I will go back to. I had so much fun with it for the first like 30 minutes that I'm like, I'm gonna put this down and I'm gonna come back to it and just enjoy and slow roll it, because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay. So you just think, I mean, this is probably not coming out until at least like mid next year. So
well, I meant like for the I thought you meant for the actual test.
Oh, no. I'm talking about the full game.
Yeah, I'll play Night Rain. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because I'm like, the thing is, I think I said this on the last podcast where I'm like, oh my God, it's multiplayer. It's multiplayer and it's got multiplayer functions. This means I can try to finally get some of you motherfuckers to play Elden Ring with me and drag you all the way to the finish line and be like,
that's
no,
fine with me.
We've only got 3 missions left.
You need to be my tour guide to the Elden Ring world in the Elden Ring.
Yeah, and see, then once you get good at Elden Ring, then you can start playing, or Night Rain, then you can start playing Elden Ring, and then once you're good at Elden Ring, then you can start playing Armored Core, and then I finally have somebody to talk about Armored Core with. God damn it.
Is Armored Core harder than Elden Ring, though?
No. It just looks harder. You could just play Armored Core.
It's just like fucking, it's a mech game. How hard could it be?
Yeah. In other Night Rain news, we got a little tidbit here from an interview with Junya Ishizaki, who's the director on Night Rain, and talking about kind of advice that he got from Hidetaka Miyazaki, who's the guy who's made the last few games, and it was very sweet. He said that the one thing that sticks out is that he basically said, "Do it as you please" for this project, and he said that was absolutely a confidence boost. So, for anybody who doesn't know, Junya Ishizaki, he has been around for like. He was like a map planner on Dark Souls. He was a designer on Bloodborne. He was
slowly becoming the understudy to take over.
Yeah, well, yeah, he was lead game designer on Dark Souls 3, and then he was the battle director on Elden Ring, which, considering that this version of Elden Ring is an incredibly whittled down action-focused version of Elden Ring, not like the big open thing. It's like, oh, that's perfect. That's a perfect place to get an understudy ready, because it's a smaller game. It's more about the action than it is about like crafting 80 billion hours worth of story. So it's just Blake. I just
You gotta scratch that itch. Now imagine what it feels like to be a Magic the Gathering player with none of your friends actually giving 2 fucks about it, which is fine. It's fine. Maybe one day we'll combine both of those interests.
Yeah. FromSoftware's Magic the Gathering game.
Hey, now you're talking.
No, I really think that it's gonna be. I've watched this happen like 7 times. All right. So Night Rain's going to come out. Here, you guys. You got to write it down on a piece of paper, put it in an envelope, put it in a desk drawer, and get it back out next year. It's going to come out. They're going to be like, he ruined it. It's all ruined. It's too hard. All the bosses are too hard. They fucked up all the weapons. It's nothing but reused assets. The story is worse. George R. R. Martin obviously didn't write this. It's garbage.
HTML5 picture of penis.
Yep. They're just cashing in. Bandai Namco obviously made them make this as a cash grab. The FromSoftware is garbage now. Everything they put out is bad. And then like 4 months later, people will be beating the same bosses they were talking about with like one finger. Did I ever tell you that I watched a video, or I watched part of a video of somebody that was playing Elden Ring with a telegraph machine, like and like each,
were they doing good?
Each letter on the telegraph was like move forward, move left, move right, attack, block, and they literally were just sitting there with a telegraph thing going like and like
Jeff,
on the screen.
I might suck at video games. I might be bad. That's insane.
No. That's like saying that you suck at walking because you can't like moonwalk, right? Like it's a very specific skill that you have to practice.
But when like, yeah, but like when you're not like good at Elden Ring to begin with, like I still feel like I'm very amateurish, and somebody can come in and go, oh, I could do that on like, I'm like, oh, like a Guitar Hero thing. No, it goes even further. I can do this on a fucking technology that came out in the 1800s.
There's a lady online that hooked like it was like a biofeedback thing up where it's like when you think in certain ways, it transmits specific energy impulses to like this little thing that you wear on your head, and they literally
like Cyberpunk?
yeah kind of, except it's very simple, right? It's like very simple commands, and she beat it with her mind. She beat Elden Ring with her mind.
I went to Target and actually saw that there is a Quest vest now. Where that's literally you put it on and you like feel the I'm like, this is getting fucking You can imagine Elden Ring where you just get stabbed, you're like, oh
yeah. Let's see. And then finally in Elden Ring news, this is a story that's been developing. Last week this story was Sony has officially said that they're interested in purchasing Katakawa. This week Sony has purchased shares in Katakawa. They've invested in Katakawa. So for anybody who doesn't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago, it was rumored that Sony was going to buy Katakawa. And then the week after that, it was announced that this was actually Katakawa inviting Sony to buy them because there were a bunch of other investment groups that were like sniffing around for a hostile takeover, specifically a few Chinese firms, and Katakawa didn't want to be taken over, so they were basically trying to get, because they have a good relationship with Sony, trying to get Sony to kind of buy them out. But Sony doesn't want all the manga and anime sectors that Katakawa is involved in, so they didn't really want to pay the full asking price. Also, it was the funniest thing was that when the rumor came out that Sony might want to buy it, Katakawa's stock went way up, so the buyout would have been even more expensive.
Isn't that a fucking thing?
Yeah. But this week, they bought 12.05 million shares of Katakawa stock, becoming the largest stockholder for 50 billion yen, or around $320 million, bringing their total holding of Katakawa up to 10%. We mentioned this before, but it's a good possibility that we're going to see Sony start to take bites out of Katakawa, depending on how good their years are. Because, I mean, if you were a company, what company doesn't want to own FromSoftware as a wholly owned subsidiary? They've turned into a bona fide just like hit maker. Even Armored Core that didn't sell like bananas, it still sold and recapped its development cost for certain.
This is a protected growth strategy, and it's Sony kind of going, we're going to own you without owning you and kind of like guide you. And I feel like this is a good move for both, but when it becomes bad is when they start not doing so hot, right? And then you're kind of stuck into the so I don't know if that'll happen from Katakawa, but it is it'll be interesting.
It would be interesting to me to see. This is a very cynical attitude to have, but I'm really interested to see what would cause FromSoftware sales to decrease. Like they definitely put out Armored Core, and like Armored Core did not sell. Like Elden Ring was just like off the charts, right? That thing sold like fucking crazy numbers. And they put out Armored Core and it sold okay numbers, but it sold enough numbers that like I don't think we're never going to see another one of those again. It'll be interesting to see Night Rain, especially if Night Rain turns into a FromSoftware live service game where they're able to add DLC content or characters or seasons. Like I think that some people are going to try to stab their phones or their computers when I say this, but like I would be interested to see what a FromSoftware battle pass looks like. Just because they usually spend so much time and effort with their equipment and the lore and stuff like that, that like you could end up with a really high quality battle pass as opposed to like, here's Venom. You guys want Venom in Elden Ring? Here's Venom. Like
Venom is
yeah. Let's see another Sony news. The Illuminate came back last week. The Game Awards announced basically a Halo Warthog and the return of the old Illuminate, the third faction from Helldivers 1. And they were beaten almost immediately. They were scoured off the face of Calypso almost immediately.
I think this is like perfect for Helldivers 2. I haven't played the updated patch yet, but I've heard good things, and I think when you have momentum, it's very like they got enough players now at this point because of the announcement and just some of the momentum that they actually had the ability to push back. Because I don't feel like those campaigns go very well for the user base usually. Because when I was playing, it was like, oh, we lost again. We couldn't do shit again.
Yeah,
it's like we couldn't get our shit together. But yeah, it's cool that like they actually had the most amount of players since launch at this point.
Since April. Yeah.
April. So yeah, I mean, it's we'll see. The longevity of Helldivers 2 is one that will be interesting to me. Just because I was at the very beginning. I need to go back and play it, but too many games, too many times.
I don't know. It might be interesting. It'd be so strange to go back with all the stuff that they've added, but
it's a new game at this point.
But then they also like, I think it was like 2 days after that, like, boop, they came back. Now they're on another planet. No. So yeah, everybody's jumped back into action. That's good though. It's good. I want people to have fun playing video games. That's the good news. The bad news is that Helldivers 2 tried their first kind of like themed DLC. It was not Venom, or else I would already be playing that game as shitty Helldivers Venom. No, it was Killzone of all things, which is very bizarre. And
it's on par. It's not already dissimilar to what they look like already. So it was kind of like,
yeah. So the problem was that they put out 2 armor sets, and they cost about $20 each if you were to buy the credits to buy them from the credit store. This was not received well, mostly because like the traditional battle pass, the order I don't know what the terminology is, but the stuff you normally pay for in Helldivers is like $10 for a whole like pass of stuff, right, that you can unlock. Whereas this was like $20 for like one set. Now
how much is the game in total?
Oh, 40.
So the DLC for these 2 outfits is as much as the game itself.
Yep.
Yes.
So yeah, but they've gone ahead and 1, they've apologized. 2, they have said that they're going to basically give out the second group of DLC for free. As
they should.
Yeah, as a kind of mea culpa. I don't know. We talked about this before, so I'll just kind of do it real quick. But like something like Helldivers does need like passive income, or not passive income, but it does need like a steady income stream in order to do stuff like program in new bugs, new robots, new stuff, new illuminate enemies to add warthogs and armor and flamethrowers and stuff like that. Like you have to pay people to do that, and they're not going to be able to continue doing that. Like there was a reason that MMOs had a subscription fee, right? Is because you keep paying people to work on them even while they were up and running. So with Helldivers, I can see where a lot like with their early patches, they wanted to like try to charge as much as they could. And if it turned out to be, they made an estimate for what was the maximum amount we could charge without pissing people off. They did it. It pissed people off. They're like, okay, we need to lower it down a little bit. But you would never want, as a business, you would never want to start too low. You never want to establish that the DLC armors were $10 if you could get $20 for them. If you put them out and you were like, these are cosmetic, they're from a franchise that nobody gives a shit about anymore, they don't do anything in the game, they confer no added bonuses, they're nothing, and we're just going to put them out there, we're going to charge a lot for them, just because, the people who want this are going to be big fans of Killzone, and they're not going to give a shit. They're just going to be like, shut up and take my money. But
it's like you could always just use the power of your wallet and not get it, right? Which is also just the ability to just say, hey, I'm not interested in that, know? And that's you can't fault them for trying to make money, but you can kind of fault them for having a approach to be like a community driven type video game, and then put that on top where you're kind of like, hey, you're doing stuff that isn't supposed to be, right. It's kind of like both of the sides calling each other out, and you want Helldivers 2 to keep going. So you're going to need to find other ways of driving revenue. Maybe the $20 skin should probably have been 15 or 10, what I mean? Or made it more where it's on sale all the time, or something that could be more of a replicated thing. But yeah, $20 for skins is a tough go. We started this whole conversation in DLCs way back when it was a $5 horse, attachment in Oblivion. Yeah. So, I mean, I get it.
Yep. But at least with Helldivers, they try, and then when they fuck up and the entire community hates it, they go
respond.
Okay, all right. We like they did in this time too, where they were just like, okay, we kind of fucked up. We're gonna give you guys some free stuff. We're gonna go back and reevaluate. Obviously, this was too much. Sorry about that. As opposed,
they said Sony is not the one driving the decision. They are very much taking accountability for them to say, this is our idea, and we're driving it. This is not being pushed from the back end.
Yep. And with that, I think we're going to go ahead and take a break. So, everybody stick around, and we'll be back in just a second with more of the Rage Select podcast. And we're back. And actually, Blake, I don't know if I said in the first part that like a lot of the news that we have this week is follow-up stuff from the Game Awards last week that we didn't get a chance to do. And part of that is talking about The Witcher, because The Witcher 4 got its first trailer, and people with, 2 ears and a brain probably heard the voice of one of our previous Witchers at the end of the new Witcher 4 trailer. And there was a confirmation, there was an interview last week where the developers confirmed that Geralt is going to have some role in The Witcher 4, which is good. Because
that is good. I mean, he's a cool character. I mean, I played 3, and that was a really fun 4 days of my life where I didn't sleep or do anything but play Witcher. And I don't want to ruin the story that's probably next, but there's a big reason why I liked the Witcher 3 game so much that I'm excited also is making a return to this franchise.
Is it Gwent? Is it Gwent?
It's Gwent.
Is it Gwent?
It's Gwent.
It's Gwent. It's Gwent. I actually think
you want to play a round of Gwent.
Yeah. I actually think, I'm sorry, I had these stories reversed. But yeah, Gwent is also coming back in The Witcher 4, as confirmed in that I think it was a similar, either the same interview or kind of at the same time. Gwent is coming back, and everybody's going to get to play it, even though I feel like they keep trying to make Gwent a thing with these standalone Gwent games.
The problem is that Gwent at its core, and I believe this from the third one, is broken, right? Once you figure out the pattern, you're good, and that's always going to be. So when you actually then put that into the standalone game, they have to change it, and it's not as rewarding in my opinion, because you actually have to then try to skill out through it. But if you play the in-game Gwent, of course there's going to be a way to beat the CPU every time. Sure, there might be a tad bit of luck, but look, I'm from the Magic the Gathering arena mindset. Once you get to a player versus player base, you're going to lose. Every time.
Yep. Well, we'll see what happens. I didn't actually finish The Witcher 3, so we'll see how The Witcher 4 goes.
What? Not finishing Witcher 3?
So it's weird. The Witcher 3, I don't know. I keep going back and trying it. I've tried it 4 times at this point, and it's so big that I just get kind of overwhelmed and just kind of lose interest and wander off into something that's easier, because it's just, go shoot these guys. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Now shoot these guys. Okay, great. Instead it's just I don't know. What do you want to do? And I'm like, what should I do? And the game's like, whatever you want. I'm like, I don't know what you want from me.
It's a game that I feel like I had to nibble on a little bit of a time with the quests.
Yeah.
But once you get your teeth sucked into it, it's so rewarding. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. So I would encourage you, maybe 4 brings you back to 3, but check out 3 for sure.
Yeah.
Again, do it again for the 5th time.
Well, speaking of games that I played multiple times, one of the other things that we found, this is right before the Game Awards, was Cyberpunk 2077 got a kind of a surprise update. We thought that Cyberpunk 2077 was pretty much completely and totally donezo, and then they put out this 2.2 update. So they put 2.0 out, and then they put out 2.1 to fix remaining bugs, but they actually added some stuff to the game in 2.2, which is interesting because we all thought is pretty much done. Strangely, the one thing that they didn't add, and I don't know if it's just because it was a late edition, was no PS5 Pro enhancements. So there's still no PS5 Pro enhancements in the game. But what they did add was a bunch of kind of crazy stuff. Like one of the things you can do now is scan cars and then use the paint job of other cars. You can apply that to your own cars. The photo mode has been updated with a lot of like additional ways that you can do stuff. One of the other cool things is if you're driving in a car, apparently Johnny Silverhand will now show up in like the passenger seat and like
just chill with you,
make snarky comments about how you're driving and what you're doing while you're driving.
That's fun.
Yeah. So those are the main things. Outside of one other thing, which was that they added a Balatro subquest into
oh my god
Cyberpunk 2077.
That's great. That's great collaboration lore.
Yeah. So basically it's like you get a message from Jim B, which is Jimbo from Balatro, telling you to like find all the cards and so throughout the city you'll find like you'll find little pictures of the Jokers from Balatro, and then you could like take pictures of them, and there's a whole thing. What's funny is that what's his name? The guy that made Balatro, he didn't know that this was in the game, and so so like here's
what the hell is this?
The Balatro game Twitter account saying like, "Hey, at Cyberpunk game, what the hell is this?" Showing one of the Jokers inside of the game. So yeah, that's
awesome. That seems like a marketing thing, right?
Well, Balatro has been adding like the Friends of Jimbo, and they added in a bunch of Cyberpunk cards to Balatro, and so then apparently Cyberpunk was so flattered that they just had one of their quest designers go take a week and basically make a little quest that they shoved in this 2.2 update.
Awesome.
So, yeah. I need to go back and it's funny because I'm listening to one of the podcasts that I listen to about video games. They're playing through Cyberpunk 2077. It's reminding me of how much fun I had with it once they got the whole 2.0 update worked out. So,
I mean, I played the Phantom Liberty, and that was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. That was a much better experience than my first experience with Cyberpunk. So definitely encourage you to jump in if you haven't already in 2.0, and anyone out there listening.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me it was really the skill tree rework. Like, it really made it feel like, oh shit, like I'm getting these crazy cool powers. There were all these new abilities where, like, I played the entire game with a katana because you get an early ability where you can just straight up block bullets with a katana, and then if you combine that with there's like a double jump and a dash, to where you can like, somebody starts shooting at you, you can start blocking their bullets and then like fucking jump on top of a building to get away from them and then come around the side.
Slash them down. Yeah.
It's great stuff.
That's a hell of a way to play. I think that's a really cool thing about that game is that you can play in different elements and different trait sets.
Yeah.
So
what I really want to do, I was thinking about it, what I really want to do is, did you watch the anime? Did you watch Edge Runners?
I have not checked that out, no.
It's really good. It's really good. It's what actually got me excited about playing the game again, but the character in that has, what the hell is it called? It's the Sandevistan is like this piece of cyberware that turns the entire world into slow motion. And in Cyberpunk, if you don't have a deck, if you don't have a cyberware deck in your head and you're not doing any of the like hacking tree, you could just fill that up with a Sandevistan, and then you could do the same thing where instead of hacking anybody, you just hit a button and the world just goes boo, and then you just like fucking run up with a katana and just like
that's awesome.
I couldn't not do hacking because they had made it so much more fun, but I kind of want to go back and just do a full Sandevistan build. So
hell yeah.
In other Balatro, I'm sorry, I heard it pronounced Balatro, and I think that's how you're supposed to say it, and I'm trying to rewire that in my brain, but I'm not entirely sure. The developer, Local Thunk, went onto Twitter to kind of take a stab at, is this the UK's Peggy rating? So apparently...
Peggy? Who's her?
This is the so apparently in the UK, Balatro is rated 18 plus because it has cards and it teaches you about the gambling. You're trying to make hands into cards, and that technically is like tangential to gambling, and their stance on gambling is that if it's happening, it's got to be over 18. So it was really funny. So he went on Twitter and said, since Peggy gave us an 18 plus rating for having evil playing cards, maybe I should add microtransactions / loot boxes / real gambling to lower that rating to 3+ like EA Sports FC.
Burn. Yeah. I mean, there's always going to be, I feel like corruption in this day and age is very rampant. And I feel like this is just, they're being painted in a corner that makes no sense. And when you have giants like EA getting passed with 3+, you just kind of think that there's some sort of like payoff to come or something. I don't know.
Yeah. He actually had an additional one where he says, just to clear it up, I'm way more irked at the 3+ for those games with actual gambling mechanics for children than I am about Balatro having an 18+ rating. If those other games were rated properly, I'd happily accept the weirdo 18+. The red logo looks kind of dope.
There you go. That's a good way of looking at it. Hey man, red logo looks cool.
Yeah. It's kind of strange. It is very strange to think that like the kind of loot box, real world money stuff everybody was very upset about it like 4 years ago, and now it's just kind of faded into the background because a lot of the biggest games start doing battle passes instead of loot boxes. But like when I played Marvel Rivals, I was like, I wish this game had loot boxes instead of their dumb achievement system, because I missed just, oh hey, I got a crappy Hawkeye skin, hooray. Like I don't care, but my brain is also fully baked, and I don't know what happens when you're a child and you're exposed to this stuff. So
but see, like Solitaire was built on every PC and came completely fledged with Microsoft, and that wasn't problematic, right? Like, and that's still some of the similar deck building type scenarios. There's too many holes to the story of that.
Yeah.
Do you don't think Solitaire is deck building in the same sense?
Well, you don't Solitaire is just like a game of chance, right? Like you don't affect the deck in Solitaire. You just shuffle it, you try it, and you also don't bet in Solitaire. It's not like you're
that's true.
You're raising another person in Solitaire. It's just like, oh, lost again, start over. Oh, lost again, start over. Hey, I won. Look, the little thing where they cascade down.
I will play that for the rest of time just to see that epic win screen.
See, I'm all about that free cell, baby. That free cell.
Oh yeah, the free cell
has numbered games that all actually have a solution. So it's different than like, I just got boned in Solitaire. So anyway, let's see. Next up on the list. Speaking of things that are warping the minds of children, when I first put this out, this was a rumor, and by the time we did the show, it's actually out. Skibbity Toilet is in the Fortnite. Fortnite now has Skibbity Toilet and Plunger Man in it as a thing that you can buy. The Plunger Man is the guy with the camera head, and he's got two plungers that are his melee weapons. And then the Skibbity Toilet is a backpack that has the toilet with the guy doing the little... I don't know if he does the actual full song, because that's probably copywritten, but he fucking jerks his head around and gets all crazy and stuff with that. I mean,
I'm not with the kids these days. I'm not hip. I don't understand the Skibbity Riz, the Skibbity Toilet stuff. I don't understand it. I don't understand it, Jeff.
The funny thing is that the Skibbity Toilet animations that were made by the guy that made this thing up, right? The first one is like 5 seconds long, and then you start looking for them and you find out, oh, here's Skibbity Toilet episode like 55, and you're like, oh, this is like a big thing. And then you go and you look on YouTube for like Skibbity Toilet all episodes, and it's like, this is 37 minutes long. Like like the episodes are so short. So one afternoon I just watched it all, and I was like, it's real. Look, I was a teenager early on the internet, and I know what it's like to be super duper into something that everybody else looks at and thinks is stupid as fuck.
Yeah.
And the thing is that Skibbity Toilet turns into a giant world war at a certain point, where you've got the Skibbity Toilets, and then you've got the camera head guys, and there's like an arms race where they keep building bigger Skibbity Toilets, and then like the camera guys keep building these giant kaiju camera head men, and then they fight each other, and it's fucking nuts.
Skibbity epic.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, like there's plenty of dumb shit that I watched when I was a teenager online. So
this just fits the mold.
Yeah, it's just the latest dumb thing that young, tweens and teens are into, and of course, it's fine. But I'm really more interested in the fact that what Michael Bay has optioned Skibbity Toilet to make something, and I'm like, no, it's perfect because Michael Bay's films are vapid and stupid, and they just have a bunch of explosions, and that's what that is.
That is Skibbity Toilet.
Yeah. Anyway, Skibbity Toilet is in Fortnite. Here's something I don't know. Here's something that might be more interesting. Fortnite also launched last week or the week before a new mode called Ballistic. So they had a little opening trailer for it. There's probably a way to say this without just like referencing another game, but this is just Fortnite Counter-Strike. It's like two teams of 5v5. It's like 6 rounds. It's whoever gets the most, one team is trying to plant not a bomb, but a device, and the other team is trying to defend. Before the round starts, you have credits that you use to buy weapons. And it's just fucking Counter-Strike.
It's Counter-Strike, yeah.
Yep.
It's in this is what they're doing.
Yeah.
Or Valorant. Yeah, they're trying to get into these markets quickly to just say, hey, if you like Fortnite, now you get the version of this, right? And it's the ecosystem of that specific franchise now. That's just how they're going to make the longevity of Fortnite continue.
And you know what? Why the hell wouldn't they? Like, I'm sure this...
Of course, yeah.
I'm sure this took like a week to make.
Their engine now, they just go plop. We're done.
Yeah.
We can make money now.
They've got all the guns. They've got all the guns. They've got all the models. They had their trailer with fucking John Wick in it because he was a Fortnite skin at one point. Yeah, you just have to you've already have the no build version, so you just make some maps that are tighter, that have less verticality to them, and you put some stuff together. I'm sure that it didn't take that very much time at all.
And it'll probably be overwhelmingly successful because that's how easy it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing I'll say about Fortnite, I always say this, and I really do mean it, is that out of all the companies out there, Epic doesn't rest on their laurels. They keep adding stuff. They keep trying new things. And I know that, that's probably a lot easier to do when you're the biggest one of these online. But, they could just sit back and ring the cash register without ever doing anything. But they put out the last Fortnite thing was Godzilla. Godzilla's in the latest Fortnite update. I'm like, oh, okay, sure.
They are really just throwing everything at it, and that's fair enough. They're going to make money.
Yeah. Let's see. From there, speaking of online multiplayer games, I think I talked about this a little bit last week, but I'll mention it again. We had the announcement trailer for Turok Origins at the Game Awards. And what's funny is that I've never really been much of a Turok guy myself, just because... I don't know. I didn't have an N64, and then it wasn't really a thing that I was into. But what's interesting about this,
I don't think the games have been good either, to be honest with you. Like, I don't find any of those games fun.
Yeah, I mean, I tried playing one of the re-releases, and it was like, oh, I think I needed to have played this when I was younger in order to have nostalgia for it. I don't think it holds up as well. But Blake, it's good that you're here. This is being made by Saber Interactive, who made Space Marine 2. So
yeah.
This is the next thing they're going to make after that. It's a third-person shooter. It's going to be like teams of 3. I think that these guys have finally found their niche where they're just like PvE with a team-based multiplayer thing with some crazy powers and some nutty weapons and big rampaging hordes of monsters. Let's go.
Yeah, it seems kind of right up their alley, in that regard, because it does. Now that you've said that, it kind of feels like Space Marine 2. I can kind of see the engine similarities, but I mean, hey, franchises exist for a reason, and this one has been around for a long time, so I'm not going to be surprised if it does well, specifically with now knowing who's behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then speaking of Space Marine 2, there was a giant update for it last week that added a whole bunch of crazy shit into the game. First, hey, you remember at the end of Space Marine 2 when we were doing the thing where you turn the little dealies upside down and we only did 2 and there were 3? Well, it turns out that there wasn't a corresponding mission for the other team to do that, but there is now. They just added in that last part so that you could go back through and play that final little bit as the support team PvE operations mode or whatever. So
to see all angles of the mission.
Yeah, they're also apparently redoing a lot of the melee combat in the game, because apparently when you're playing the online, especially at harder difficulties, you have to abuse the parry system in order to do the executions to get your shields back. And like that, it's a necessity. Like there's no way to play outside of like learning how to use that system to its full potential. And they want there to be other options. So they're basically looking at like figuring out other ways to melee damage is going up across the board, and blocking now grants you a stacking buff to your next attack. At 3 stacks, it'll even deal a blast of AoE damage and restore an armor segment. This is from this PC Gamer article. So they're looking for ways to expand that. So that you're not just doing the same thing over and over and over again.
That's a good mechanic change. I think that's a good way of saying, hey, it's not design. It's not supposed to be designed like that. You know what I mean? It may work, but it's not. It's not the way that they wanted to make it. So now making it change is going to be good.
Mm-hmm. It always sucks when a game is so rigid that it ends up with a meta where everybody just has to play the same way. And I like it that it seems like they're trying to make sure that doesn't happen, so that it's not just like, oh, everybody has to play this one specific way. Let's see. Speaking of big online multiplayer games, we got the season 4 trailer for Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League.
Big online. You mean like the one person that's like, I like superheroes?
I don't know. During the holiday sale on Steam, they dropped this thing down to $5. So maybe they have some people in there. As with all the previous seasons, this is adding a new character to the game. This time it's Deadshot, which people I think are actually excited for, because it was like the weird skinny
Deathstroke, you mean?
Joker. Deathstroke, not Deadshot. Deadshot was in the game, and his daughter was then one of the. It was
DLCs,
Joker, Mrs. Freeze, Deadshot's daughter, and then I think he's the fourth one. So, and he's from an alternate universe where basically he kind of just started killing brainiacs. Like he got out of prison and just kept killing, and he's a little bit more grizzled version of Deathstroke, who's kind of come into the current timeline. And I think that fans are a little bit more excited than this, because he's like, it's just a straight up, I mean, like, okay, I don't really care about this game at all, but
fair.
It's like, okay, well, we're bringing in the Joker. Oh, like the one from the comics? No, like a really skinny kind of like tweaky
one
Joker.
You don't care about. Yeah.
Right. Oh, okay. Well, we're bringing in Freeze. Oh, Mr. Freeze? No, Mrs. Freeze. It's like, oh, is it like a gender thing where it's like her husband is in the cryogenic tank? No, it's still the same woman in the tank, but it's just she's a lady, Mr. Freeze. Like, okay. Now we're bringing in Deadshot's daughter. Who? Like, I don't know who that is.
Now it's actually giving something that they actually wanted to begin with.
Right. I don't know. I mean, Deathstroke is he's a bigger villain character, right? Like, you know,
sure.
I think if they'd brought in like, take your pick. Like, I don't even think it's necessarily like a gender thing. I think if they'd brought in like Catwoman, right? That might have been like well, I guess Catwoman is in this universe is a good guy, but like, you know, there are plenty of characters. It's just I feel like they made some odd decisions about who they wanted to bring in, and now they're bringing in one of the big fan favorites. However, this also comes with the news that in January, well, first off, that they're also bringing in, this is actually is released by the time this came out, an offline mode to play the game in. Because in January, they're going to be bringing out their final update, because I think that their original plan was to have like 8 seasons of this, and I would be surprised if their player numbers have ever significantly increased with the releases of these seasons. So,
damn, I don't think this game is doing well. No, I'm just playing. That's the fucking... This game should have died. It should have concorded itself, but it didn't. It didn't, and it continues to live. How and why?
Yeah, I mean, they put a lot of money into it. I don't know. I've been on record. I'll stay on the record with this. I didn't think it was quite as bad as everybody said, but that's only because I went in with like zero expectation, and what I got was like a relatively okay, romp with some characters. But then it got to the end of the game, and it was like, oh, now you have to grind to open portals to kill Brainiac like 13 more times, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. So
I wouldn't either.
Yeah. But not just that, because unfortunately this leads into the bad news parade. Layoffs are coming to Warner Brothers Games Montreal. This is unfortunate because they've eliminated 99 jobs, and the thing is that they're primarily a subcontractor that was doing QA for the game. I understand that like QA is usually the first to be cut, especially if they're not putting out any more updates once the current update is QA'd.
It's redundant at that point.
Yeah, then that's who you chop first. And you keep, like even if they're going to shut this team down, which they almost certainly will eventually, you don't fire all the programmers and artists right off the bat. You do the low-hanging fruit, which is QA. I'm sorry, QA. I've worked QA, but you all know the same as I do that management does not tend to look super fondly at the QA department, as well as like community managers and support staff and things like that. They tend to be the first to go. But the thing I wish they would do, Blake, because we have 3 of these stories, unfortunately. The thing I wish they would do is that, like, I hate having this story. This was published on December 13th. I think that once December happens, we should all wait to lay people off until January. Like,
yeah, let's have a law that you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, just let's have ourselves a merry little Christmas, and just like, even if the writing's on the wall, like, let's everybody get to the end of the year before, like, don't even start the process of firing in January. Don't do it during the holiday season. I don't know. Maybe I'm a sentimental softy about this, but like,
I think that's just being a human being, or should be.
This is why RageSelect is not a million subscriber channel, is because I'm just like, I don't know, maybe just be nice. And it's like, no,
we can't have that. That's crazy talk.
Make off-brand Gatorade with caffeine in it and sell it to children already. I'm like, oh shit, okay, no, I don't want to do that. Deck 9 also has a bunch of they're confirming that more layoffs are happening. This is happening in February, so they are doing what I just talked about. This is another one of those things where I was talking with somebody about this. This is an undisclosed number of people, but Deck 9 has they laid off 20% of their workforce in February, and they laid off another 30 people in May.
Who's going to be left? Jesus Christ.
Yeah. They just came out. I mean, here's the thing. Like, did you know that a new Life is Strange game came out like 3 weeks ago?
I heard about it, but yeah, it wasn't. Life is Strange for me has come and gone. I don't really think it's captured. It was a lightning in a bottle, even in a tiny sense. So
yeah, and like, I don't think there's anything wrong with Deck 9, and I don't think. But they seem to have put a lot of their eggs in the Life is Strange basket, and I don't know if that is a basket that gives more egg. Wait, how do you get the eggs back for the basket? I don't know where this metaphor went.
There's so many eggs in baskets.
They put the eggs in the basket, but then what does that do for you? Like, then you drop the basket and all the eggs break, or like
eggs in basket is Life is Strange?
I don't know. I don't know if I would have put so much emphasis, especially because the last Life is Strange True Colors came out like 2 years ago and was also kind of like,
yeah.
So I didn't even bother playing it on RageSelect because there were other things I was more interested in, and I didn't want to just go, this is fine, not for me, but fine, like I have with the last like 3 Life is Strange games. So and then this one really shouldn't surprise anybody, but People Can Fly is laying off about 120 employees, and they're doing the whole like, well, we have to cut back to reassess our financial capacity, and basically this is just corporate talk for the company is shrinking. Their last game was Outriders, which was okay, but like not great. The game before that was like Gears of War Judgment, and that was like a long time ago. And then, of course, this is the development team that made Bulletstorm originally, and I think they've been kind of getting through it. You know, like Outriders seemed like an interesting experiment, but then I don't think it really caught on, and that was kind of like their third strike, like their third chance of trying to do something where...
Which most of the time you don't even get a second chance.
Yeah. Well, you know, Gears of War Judgment was fine. That was like a prequel Gears of War, but like, I don't know. It just, it never really seemed like it worked out very well for them. So it's not surprising to me. Like, I actually had expected them to have a story like this like several years ago, like when Outriders first came out.
To actually hold on this long is kind of, but still, you know, getting rid of people before Christmas is hard, and it's just not fair.
Yep. It does suck, and I don't know. I hope all those people. You know, this year has been a big shit sandwich for layoffs, and I really hope that what happens is that a lot of this talent that's now floating out in the world coalesces into indie studios that produce stuff where we're playing it. We're just like, holy shit, this came out of nowhere. I've never played anything like this before. And it was great when they're just able to put together some startup capital if the economy starts bouncing back a little bit. And that within the next like 3 years, we'll have like new classic
games,
franchises. Yeah. We'll have new franchises that we've never heard of before that come out of nowhere, and we're just like, oh my God, this is amazing. And it's just because there's so much talent now just laying out there
in the pool.
Yeah, that some of those teams will be able to come together and make some stuff. Yep. Ooh, wow. We're way under time this week. So let's see. Last week, so we had a story last week about itch.io. This was a weird saga because it became a very strange narrative that when I looked into it was a little bit more complicated than people might have thought. So this itch.io, which is the indie game storefront out there where it's like a pay what you want model, and they've got a lot of like little micro games and stuff. They went offline, let's see, what was this? Published December 9th. So this would have been, last week, for a few hours. They went offline at 2 a.m. and they came back around 7 a.m. And they posted online that let me just read their post. I kid you not, @itch.io was taken down by @Original Funco because they used some quote some trash quote AI powered unquote brand protection software called @BrandShield Limited that created some bogus phishing report to our registrar at I Want My Name, who ignored our response and just disabled the domain.
Wow.
So I think that a lot of people immediately jumped on Funko because why would you not? Like, they suck.
That's your responsibility. Yeah.
Right. But then here's the thing. Funko came back and said, okay. So first off, Funko didn't do this. The company Brand Shield did this. That was like an outsourcing firm that Funko goes with that apparently uses some kind of quote unquote AI to search for copyright infringements and then like notify them of what has happened. Now, what I understand is that itch.io has developed a system where people can create web pages, because you can create a web page on itch.io, right? Mm-hmm. And as I understand it, what happened was a bad actor created a fake Funko branded page that was asking people to enter in their information as a phishing page, right?
Yeah.
And then they linked it to a spurious domain that would then redirect back to this page. And if you weren't paying attention, you might have like mistyped the Funko URL, gone to this page. It looked like a sign up page. You put in your information, boom, it gets given to bad actors. So Brand Shield apparently sees this, and then they send a takedown request to whatever that dumbass registrar, I Want My Name, which is weird to me. itch.io uses like fucking
the like GoDaddy of whatever.
Right. And when they sent in that takedown request, they cited the specific page, not the whole of itch.io. It wasn't a generalized thing. It was like, here is the page that is spoofing our thing. We would like this to be gone. And then I Want My Name just blasted the
like
entire thing.
Yeah.
And then, so this really seems like a problem with, I want my name, not even I don't like, I got my own opinions about AI stuff. I got my own things about these like brand protection places that will strike your video on YouTube if you have 1 second of footage in it from something that they own. But this seems like it's literally an issue with their the registrar more than anything else. And apparently when itch.io found all this out, they immediately started, like, they got an automated, hey, we've taken down your website for infringement. They immediately got all the information straight, emailed them back, didn't hear anything, emailed them back, didn't hear anything, emailed them back, didn't hear anything. Finally, they just got like a oh, oops, we made a mistake, your website's back up, like, message. But it sounds like it was bad communication with the domain registrar as opposed to something.
That's a little embarrassing. Like, that's really bad on that level, on that scale. But it's also very frustrating because, when at that point you are just a service running on someone else's service. So you're kind of at the mercy of whatever the fuck is going on over there.
Yeah. I had this problem with my cell phone where I couldn't open the Kindle app. Every time I opened it, tried to open one of the books I owned, it would just crash or would just say, you can't do this. And it kept telling me to contact support. And I was like, the last thing in the world I want to do is talk to support because
they're not going to fucking help you.
Amazon support. But today I did it because I got mad and I was like, okay. And Blake, the fix was log out of the Kindle app for 2 minutes and then log back in and everything is
the
fine.
authentication session clears or some shit?
I cleared the cache. I deleted data. I'd uninstalled it. I'd logged out.
Insane.
I'd logged back in. But I always just log out and then log back in, and like it had the same problem. And the solution was literally log out for 2 minutes, let that shit reset, log back in. It's fine. And I was like,
damn. Well, I'll remember that for the next time I have any issues with Kindle.
Son of a bitch. Let's see. In other corporate news, Microsoft there was an interview or like what is this? It was an investor conference where the CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, was there and started talking about, like, I don't know if you've seen the Xbox, like this is an Xbox, this is an Xbox, this is an Xbox stuff. And it's so...
Yes, I've seen that, yeah. It's like, oh, you can play Xbox anywhere.
Right. So there's a lot of, like, kind of consternation on the part of Xbox owners of being like, well, if everything's an Xbox, why the fuck did I shell out $500 for your console? And people thought it might have just been a straight, like, marketing thing. But last week in this investor conference, they said, if we think about it right, we chose secular growth. We chose the secular growth category in entertainment, which we think is gaming, and said, let's double down on it. And so we said, let's take the joy of gaming everywhere. And that's why even these ads with Xbox Now, where we are redefining what it means to be an Xbox fan, it's about being able to enjoy Xbox on all your devices. And this is a lot of people, because, you can lie directly to our faces, Hidetaka Miyazaki, about whether there's an Elden Ring DLC or not, but you can't lie in the investor calls.
That's not allowed.
You can't lie directly to your investors. So it seems as though going forward, Microsoft has decided that, like, Xbox is not a console or even like a specific game, like a specific console, specific brand anymore. It's like
a marketplace.
It's an ecosystem. Yeah, it's a brand that you slap on stuff. This is an Xbox, and it's like, well, I can play that on my PC that has no Microsoft parts in it. It's like,
Xbox really wants to be Steam. I feel like Xbox really wants to be Steam.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, they have a what's the they have a whole store like in like Windows 11. It's like,
it's the worst though.
So terrible. The only thing I've ever used it for is buying Power Wash Simulator DLC. But like, but yeah, I wonder if that's what that's going to do. Because again, in the short term, releasing Indiana Jones on the PlayStation next February or whatever, that's a great way to get more money, right?
Right.
But over time, that like kind of waters down your brand a little bit to the point where it's like, well, if you put out an Xbox, like if everything I could play on the Xbox, I could play on the Steam Deck, and then Microsoft puts out, they're supposedly working on a portable Xbox solution. Well, why the fuck would I buy that? Like, it doesn't confer any bonuses. I can just buy a Steam Deck or a ROG Ally or the Lenovo,
whatever the fuck is out there. Yeah.
So it ends up with a good question of like, okay, will people who have an identity that is tied tied directly to the brand of Xbox? Never tie your identity to a brand. It fucking sucks.
Yeah, that's bad.
Are they going to accept the idea that like this is now more egalitarian and less like gatekeepy? Like if the next Halo game comes out on the PlayStation 5, are Xbox fans going to bleed from their eyes until they die of anemia, or like what's going to happen? Like
I think I would only do that if I saw like Mario on some other platform, and it got very close with the iPhone Mario shit, but like I feel like that was a time that Nintendo did that shit for the what was that, the 3DO or whatever, the Panasonic the Wanda Gamelon games. It's just
3DO.
For me, like that to me would be the end of video game franchises as I know it, like having Mario end up on some sort of other console. Like Sega going down was also very strange, but now that's very commonplace.
Well, it's also really weird because of the way that Sony has done it. Sony is putting PlayStation games on the PC, but not on the Xbox, right? So you can play Spider-Man 2 on a PlayStation or a PC, but not the Xbox. Yeah. So like they've decided to basically like make the PC one market, but I think that Microsoft has already cashed that chip in because they made the announcement was like 3 or 4 years ago where all the Xbox Game Pass games were going to be playable on console or PC. So get
a PC, folks. You're in the middle. You're good. You're doing fine.
Probably so. Probably. I don't know. I mean, like I think there's a case to be made. Like get two. Right, get like a Switch and a PlayStation, and you're probably fine.
Yeah, you're probably covered.
Get a PC and a Steam Switch. No, one of those has to be a Switch.
A PlayStation. I think. This because I have a I have a lot of stuff. I have a PC, a Steam Deck, and a PlayStation 5, and I feel like I got it's all covered. I also have a Switch, and the Switch was really good for games that I played before I realized the Steam Deck was a thing, and then got the Steam Deck because I was like, holy shit, this is amazing.
Well, also the Switch has been like there was a time where like having a Switch was a big thing. There was a lot of games. Like last year, the Super Mario Wonder, that game fucking ruled. So
that was awesome. That was a good game.
So I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens moving forward. I don't know that. I mean, maybe there are people out there who listen to RageSelect podcast who are specific like console fanboys, I say with my air quotey fingers. I hope not. Don't ever tie yourself too hard to anything. I mean, like maybe like your family or like your loved ones or whatever, but like not.
It doesn't bode well to tie yourself to like Atari. I'm an Atari boy.
Yeah. And then last, before we take our second break, Marvel Rivals came out, and the player base has one giant request, and that request is for role queues. So
it does feel weird when you're playing that game and you're just like, all right, you can just have shitty like matches because everybody wants to be Venom.
Yep. So for anybody who doesn't know, like Overwatch, Marvel Rivals is divided up into 3 types of categories. You've basically got like support characters, tanks, and DPS. Everybody wants to play DPS. There are more DPS characters than any other type of character. Unfortunately, if you play as a team that's mostly DPS and the other team has like one tank and one healer, you will get, not necessarily, but the odds are higher that you're going to get totally rolled because, their tank's going to soak up all your DPS and their healer's going to be healing the tank. And then meanwhile, their DPS people are going to be like knocking you down or you're going to have no support. But right now it's just the Wild West where you get into a match, 6 DPSs, no roll locking. This came up as like, hey, could we get a mode where we roll lock? And this is an interview with Esports. They basically said like, nah, we're not interested in doing that. The thing is that I don't know, man. Like they said that the reasoning for it was that they don't want to lock people into a very specific meta. Right? Like if a team can come up with a way to just continuously win with 6 DPSs or 6 supports for that matter, then like they don't want to keep people from trying to do that because they don't want to get into this thing where everybody has to play a specific way. So if you get on a team full of garbage assholes, then like I don't know.
I think it's going to be very harder. It makes it hard for the new players to get in because obviously you're going to be matching with people that do not give a shit.
Yeah.
But if you're playing on a team, I get that. But I also am like, okay, so how far are you going to take this dying on the hill before you realize that this is probably going to be good for your game? Because I assume at some point they're going to be like, okay, well, we're going to release this anyway. We're just going to do that.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess we will see moving forward. And with that, we are, we're done. We're right on time this week. So we're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we have a metric crapload of trailers left to talk about. So everybody stick around, and we will see you back here in just a minute. And this is really strange, you guys, because we actually had to take a day break in between, like what you heard 10 seconds ago and where we are now. So
my brain was mush, and I needed some time to think about these trailers because it's very exciting. These trailers,
So if the energy seems a little different, it's just because of that. But I'm pretty sure you and I are pretty much the same all the time. So
we always bring the flavor to the not the Discord. Where am I at right now?
The RageSelect podcast.
We're on the RageSelect podcast, and we bring the heat, baby.
Yep. And when we left off, we were talking about Marvel Rivals role locking their roles and how that's not going to happen. And it turns out that our first trailer is also Marvel Rivals related because Marvel Rivals is doing its first holiday event. This is the official winter celebration, and it seems like it's mostly focused on Jeff the Land Shark, which maybe
he's the most annoying character in that game. I've been playing Marvel Rivals, actually just played with my friends before the show, and God, he's the most frustrating character to play against because he'll just gobble you up and then throw you off the map, and I'm like, what the hell? And I'm like, damn you, Jeff, and I feel bad because I'm like, not Jeff from RageSelect,
not
Jeff
that
the Shark.
Yeah, I didn't want to play him when I first started. I tried playing him and I was like, oh, I don't like him, and then I was like, okay, listen, I'm contractually obligated to play this character. I gotta get better.
It's not spelled GEO, it's spelled JEF.
Yep. And I like sharks, and anyway, Jeff the Shark is like the focus for this, and so they've done something very strange, which is they're doing like a limited time event, and it's basically Splatoon with 2 teams of 2 Jeffs. So when Jeff shoots the water out of his mouth, it like turns the ground a different color, and the 2 teams are competing to see who can turn the most of the stage into the color, which I don't know about you. I'm a big fan of when video games are just like, we're just gonna rip off another video game, and I'm like, if it was one that I like, be my guest. I don't care.
Better than rip off, it's something else to add to the flavor of play. Matchmaking, right? Because it for me, I was playing. It does what it does, and after a while, I feel like it gets a little old and stale.
Sure.
This type of stuff will always make it new and fresh, right? Which is what Fortnite does a really good job of. So we're just going and following the mold. But yeah, Jeff playing being Splatoon. Mm-hmm. Man, you got 2 Jeffs playing Splatoon. That's a lot of Jeffs there.
Yep. There's also a bunch of skins, kind of holiday skins. We got like an ice Venom skin and like some.
Look at that.
There's some like ski. There was like a Christmas tree Groot. I like the Christmas tree Groot a lot.
Christmas tree's good, cool. Yeah, he's cool.
And then there's a lot of them that are just like, hey, what if people were wearing like ski gear? What if Rocket Raccoon was going snowboarding? And it's like, well, I guess that's okay, but yeah.
I mean, this game is pretty fun. It's kind of got it feels solid, and it doesn't have a lot of issues. You know what I mean, in terms of like the launch. So no, I'm all for it. Flavor is flavor, and it is free. And this is just the cosmetics. So much like the Helldivers thing, which I wonder how much these are. I can't really give him any flack.
Yeah, especially being free to play. That was like the intrinsic deal that we all made was like, if you give me the game for free, then you can totally charge me for cool stuff
do
afterwards.
Whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's see. We also got, this isn't like a full-on video, but we got like a very brief moment of Conan the Barbarian in Mortal Kombat 1 footage. His intro with Shao Kahn was talking about, the lamentations of the women, the whole thing. Of course, that's in there. What's weird, though, is that unlike a lot of the other characters from, I feel like the first DLC, like, he just seems like a guy with a sword, which I know that's what Conan is, but, like, with Ghostface, they had, like, they kind of leaned into there's two of them, so you can, like, teleport and do weird stuff.
They broke the fourth wall, which I thought was really cool. Yeah, like, there doesn't seem to be a lot with the Conan aspect. And, I mean, even being in Austin, Conan's Pizza, I would love to see him, like, throw a pizza at somebody, right? It's a little bit more than just the sword, but, it's fine. They're putting in so many of these characters. It's like, I guess they can't always hit the mark.
Yeah. No one's gonna get that reference though, Blake. Unless they're from this town.
Conan's Pizza's so good though. I love the deep dish Conan pizza.
Yeah. For reference, people, there's a place here in Austin called Conan's Pizza, and every one of them is like, the entire inside is wood paneled, and then it's got like,
and it's dark dungeony. Yeah.
Frank Frazetta paintings everywhere. So it's a vibe. It's a definite vibe.
It is very much a vibe. And I would say that I would love some pizza in this video game. So if you don't get the reference, it's fine because it's just pizza.
Yeah.
Everybody loves pizza.
Let's see. I think we got some more fighting game stuff. Yep, we got a teaser for Mai from Fatal Fury in Street Fighter 6.
Your what?
My the incredibly stacked lady wearing very, very few amounts of clothes.
Hang on a second. Let's see. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Checking it out now.
This will be the second SNK crossover. They had the Terry Bogard earlier this year, and now we've got Mai. And from this trailer, it looks like they've put her into the overworld, because in Street Fighter 6, you play as a custom character that goes and trains with people. And so she appears to have like her own little dojo where she's going to teach you her moves, but then she'll also be a fighter that you can play in the game. Mai is absolutely ridiculous. Mai's costume is like,
I know. I was like, God, that must be uncomfortable to have that right up your crotch. You know what I mean? Jesus.
Like, I don't like, if this was in any way real life, if you moved like 3 inches in any direction in that costume, just boing, like, the whole thing's just gonna fall off of you instantly. Like,
impressive though. I mean, they've always been able to have that flair of a character announcement.
Yeah,
I feel like they were like some of the OG original one to do that. So yeah, she looks good. She looks good.
Yep, and I like the fact that Capcom is branching out. That it's not just like either bringing back old Street Fighter characters or original characters. So
yes,
yep. Let's see from there. This is something weird that happened last week before the Game Awards. There was like 3 different conferences that we just are not prepared to deal with. There was like a Latin Americans game showcase, and like a cozy game showcase, and like a women in gaming showcase, and these all happened like right before the Game Awards, and I was like, guys, I can't cover,
that's too much content,
the Game Awards and like 4 additional hours. So I picked a few trailers, and one of them was the reveal trailer for this game called Knockoff, which is a fighting game where you basically are playing as kind of serial numbers filed off like action figures from like the 80s and 90s. So you've got,
this looks incredible. This looks so cool.
You've got there's like a He-Man and a Skeletor. They've got like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They've got some like kind of 80s/90s style like robot, like Mazinger Z. There's some like Sewer Sharks and
the Round Mound and Pound, that fucking Vin Diesel video that people can check out, which is his first video or appearance in a fucking video on YouTube where he's talking about Street Sharks.
Yep.
So geez, dude, this looks awesome.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. Like, they did a really good job, and then all of the fights take place in what looks like, like a really zoomed in version of like a backyard or on like a cabinet where you can see like stuff behind from other stuff.
Posters, little knickknacks, a clock. Yeah, this is awesome.
So they did, and they've done an incredible job at making these things just enough that they're not about to get sued, but still enough that they're perfectly recognizable for anybody with a nostalgia for 80s or 90s big muscle toy peeps. So
golf clap, that was very impressive.
Yeah, really good looking. I also like the fact that there's a special move there where it's like a bunch of those horrible plastic snakes where you hold
just
them,
keep coming out and hit you.
Yeah, if you hold them, they only go like left and right. You got to hold them like they only go two directions.
They're like made up of sections and plastic. Yes, it is. It is so on par to what they're doing and content wise that it's kind of incredible that this hasn't been done before.
Yeah,
it's almost like they've taken the Toy Story Sid's room and then made that a level without some of the like modifications. You know what I mean? I don't know. I cannot wait to play this. Does it tell you when it comes out, or
it's just it's got a soon. It's got a like coming soon. I don't think it has like a specific release date at this point, but it was basically, I went through a lot of the trailers from those shows, and this was one of the ones that was the most like eye catching to me.
Down in the YouTube comments, somebody said, "Where's the Barbie character?" I think that would probably hit the mark. I think that's what they're missing. Maybe they'll add that.
Another one that we saw was a game called Space Hunters. This was also at the Latin American Showcase. This is like a brawler beat 'em up that reminds me a lot of again, kind of like nostalgic 80s, 90s Saturday morning cartoons, because everything is really like hand animated with this really heavy thing. It was like a combination between like cops and like the Cowboys of Moo Mesa. It's got a really big like brawling sheriff robot suit
with the environments being a little bit like Sunset Riders.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it does. I don't know. I do love these types of games though. These side-scrolling beat 'em ups, because it never gets old to me. Where you can always just kind of power your way through it. You don't have to go crazy and learn a bunch of moves, right? You just kind of mash the buttons and move forward.
Silverhawks. That's what it looks like. It looks like Silverhawks, like the guy that flies the ship if he was like totally jacked. But yeah, this is another one that I think is really interesting and well worth checking out, especially if you're into the beat 'em ups. Beat 'em up fans be eating real good the last couple years.
This year, yeah.
Lots of good stuff out there over the last couple years. It feels like there was a full-on G.I. Joe beat 'em up game that came out this year that was actually pretty good. So
we went from having like hardly any good beat 'em ups. Like I remember the time of like Scott Pilgrim had beat 'em up come out, and Castle Crushers was kind of the start.
Yep.
And now you have so many good ones.
They seem like a lot of tie-ins, a lot of like franchise tie-in games end up being beat 'em ups for some reason.
It's easy to kind of like skin them and IP them, I'm assuming.
Yep. On that same note, we had the launch trailer, because it already came out, for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind, which is the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers like side scroll or like isometric beat 'em up game. This one's got a little bit more. There's a dojo that will be coming out eventually for this, because there's like stages where you're beating up a bunch of the putties, but then there's also stages where you're driving the Zords like in a behind the back kind of mode 7 scaling thing, and then it all culminates in a Zord battle where you're in a kind of a first person perspective in the Megazord doing like kind of quick time events and fighting with the giant monsters.
God, this looks great too. Jeez, this looks incredible too, because it's like, okay, you're going to do another side-scrolling Power Rangers until you see what actually else is beyond the curtain.
Yep.
Holy shit.
Yep. And it's pretty challenging. We played it. I think I played this with Matt and a special guest that you'll have to tune in to find out. But that there's a lot, and then it's also got a relatively complex story where like future Rita goes back to the original Power Rangers time to change history, and so they're able to get that nostalgia in, but also like throw a little stank at it to make it different than just what the first 2 seasons of Power Rangers. So this is already out, PS5, PS4. I think it's also on the PC. Looks pretty good. I'm not really
fighters fans are still eating. Holy shit, this looks good too.
Yeah, I'm not really a Power Rangers guy. Like, it wasn't really my thing. I was a Voltron kid. By the time Power Rangers came around, I was a little old, and so I never really got into it. But I really hope that someday, Blake, they get tired of pandering to your nostalgia and someday try to pander to my nostalgia. I guess that G.I. Joe game.
Why would they do that? I'm so much cooler. Why would they pander? Why would they pander to you? I'm cooler. Give me more Power Rangers.
What's the thing?
If you were a Power Ranger, which Power Ranger would you be?
I would be like the guy that runs the snack bar at the high school.
You just every time I walk over, you'd be like, ay.
I'd be Zordon. I don't want to move around too much.
Rangers.
I'm just like, go do shit. Get out of my living room. Fuck off. I'm a giant floating head.
Guys, he said, let's go do shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, let's see. I have more trailers than I thought. Let's see. From there, speaking of, if you want something that's a little bit more my nostalgia, we got the full launch trailer for Alien Rogue Incursion, which is the VR game that is on the PSVR 2 and on the MetaQuest 3 that is a first-person kind of alien shooting. Like, this isn't a hiding game. This is like the main character is a colonial marine, and they've gone to this research station, and something fucked up happened, and you're gonna end up shooting a bunch of xenomorphs with the fucking pulse rifles and guns and all kinds of stuff. And even though I'm a little sick of Aliens nostalgia, like, I don't know if I've ever said this to you, where it's like, I love Aliens just as much as the next guy, but there's no reason that every Alien game has to have colonial marines and look like aliens, and they just keep making that same like style over and over again. Like, they never branch out.
Like, they hit it so good with Isolation that they're like, let's just keep doing that.
Yeah, but I do like the fact, I don't know, I may have to try this out. I am a little, I'll say I have a little bit of trepidation about the idea of a 7 foot tall.
I'm passing on this, dude. This looks way too much like literally edge of your seat. You're gonna have to stand and face an alien. No,
yeah.
I mean, honestly, it looks really cool, but this is a hard no for me because I can't deal with the idea that I'm being like breathed on and shit. You know what I mean? Like, that to me is where this is going to excel in really trying to heighten it up with the VR side. So if you're into this sort of thing, more power to you. Jesus, this looks terrifying.
Actually, you know what? Like, really early on in the history of RageSelect, I bought what was the precursor to the Oculus, like the old one that like had no support for anything. It was like the very first VR thing that you could buy. It was like a dev kit, but it had like a little bit of a following. And I managed to get Alien Isolation running on it. And as soon as I saw like the actual alien in VR, like hunting me, and I was just like, nope, no, thank you. But
fun while it lasted.
But I like the idea of this one because you have machine gun. Like, I if I can shoot the alien with a machine gun, I'm willing to give it another shot. So
give yourself a real shot.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, honestly, if I was around friends playing it, it'd be great. But yeah, by yourself in the dark,
The Oculus DK2, that was what it was called. Oculus DK2.
Donkey Kong 2?
No, development kit. Development something? Development kit. Yeah, K for kit. Yeah, I could spell. This is a weird one. We got the announcement trailer, speaking of space adventures, for Star Trek Legends, which was an Apple Arcade game that was like kind of one of these phone games where you're like collecting a bunch of different characters from different franchises, and you're putting together a little team, and then you're doing little missions and stuff. And I played this.
Kind of reminds me of the Mega Man game that we played.
Sort
of Battle Network.
It's a lot like there's a really famous Star Wars game on the phones that's like this, where you're collecting Star Wars characters, and it's like an auto battler, so you don't really control the battles. You just put the team together, and then you're looking to try to to make things work. I really actually like these games because I think they're pretty good time wasters. And what's weird is I played this on the Apple Arcade, and here's the thing, Blake. The footage of this game looks like absolute shit. Like the 3D models are incredibly low poly.
Res,
like there's very jagged on the edges. And I thought like, oh, did they just capture it wrong? But then there's like these there's like cut scenes that are like in high resolution of like still frames from the story. They're in high resolution. I'm just like, guys, I didn't need you to do a full remaster on this shitty phone game, but like I would like it to play like these characters don't need to be low resolution. I have a PS5 Pro.
It's like they're unpolished or something, or they're too polished, or it does kind of give that weird vibe. I do think it looks kind of cool. I mean, I like all the characters coming together and you being able to choose things like the Borg or Patrick Stewart or the old classic characters. There's definite interest there for me, but yeah, it does kind of go from like a really weird cartoonish, almost like a like a what is that Disney shit they used to do with just like the heroes. I don't know. It's almost like they're making caricatures of the actual characters.
Yeah, they're a little stylized in a way that makes it easy to make a whole bunch of them. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a shame because I don't know. Maybe I'm going to download it. Like I went to the PlayStation to download it. It comes out I think on Christmas or right around there. And the trailer that they had on the PSN. They looked even worse. Like the characters looked even worse there. I was like, I don't understand what's happening. So I don't know. Let's see. Okay, how about some good space? We finally got a full gameplay trailer for Exodus, which is this game that was teased, I think, last year when Matthew McConaughey came out. It's being made here in town by a bunch of Mass Effect veterans. They put out a series of videos that were all Matthew McConaughey basically doing like this kind of travelogue voiceover, like explaining how the universe works.
He was flying a Lexus.
Yes. And they're really compelling. Like they're amazing. Now this trailer I think has got a little bit of flack because you watch it and you're like, oh, that's Mass Effect. They're playing Mass Effect. The guys that made Mass Effect, they made another Mass Effect. And it's like, oh, okay. In fact, there's even parts in here where the main character has like a big cyber gauntlet, and it looks exactly like the blade from Mass Effect. Like it's a giant triangle that comes out of one of his hands and then uses it to stab stuff. And it's like, that's
Mass Effect.
That's Mass Effect.
I don't think, there's not a problem for me making another Mass Effect game, but it does seem like they're unable to get away from, well, what are we going to do, guys?
Right.
Let's just make another Mass Effect game.
Make another Mass Effect. So there's a couple of really interesting things that this game is doing, and I recommend everybody go check it out. One, I mentioned there was a secret level that dealt with this, is that they deal with the implications of time dilation at light speed. So like when you jump between a system, it takes like 2 days, and then it takes like 10 years for the people that are on the other side. Also, I didn't know this until I was reading a little bit about it, but this is like 20,000 years in the future or something like that. Like it's way in the future. And one of the interesting things about it that I didn't know until I read this article was that everything in the universe comes from Earth. There aren't aliens. There's just like humans who evolved in a weird way, or like you saw there was like a bear in there. Like a lot of animals in this universe have like full brains because they were genetically engineered to like go into space and do specific things. But all the stuff that you see is either like robots built by humans or some offshoot of either humans or animals from Earth that have been brought out into space and have evolved in different interesting ways over like the course of thousands of years. So
that's very cool. I mean, actually on the side, I played through and beat Mass Effect 1 for the first time, I think, in the last few weeks, and that was a lot of fun. And I am going through 2 and 3 as well. So this looks like a way more inviting world than the Mass Effect games that I've played, at least, or have seen. So I haven't seen 3 yet. It might be a little more, in depth and whatnot, because it was closer to the actual release time as it is today. But
yeah,
man, there's so much there. But yeah, like you're saying, it's interesting how they're not using these outer world characters in terms of like, actual aliens. They're sticking to what we are familiar with from the human element.
Yeah.
And I think as a storytelling device, it is interesting, but also kind of limiting in a way. So I'm curious how they're going to, I don't know, expand upon that.
I recommend you go watch the McConaughey ones because they had some really interesting ideas about like what's going on. And I love the idea of the whole whole time dilation thing where you can have stuff that's drastically different. It allows for a lot of really interesting storytelling things. People are I saw a few kind of write-ups that talked about how the dialogue in this trailer is a little kind of like it leans a little bit on the quippy Marvel side, like, and people are not exactly super jazzed about that. But I don't know. Everything I've seen about this so far has been good. If it's just another Mass Effect, I don't trust BioWare to make Mass Effect anymore. If I want a Mass Effect and the guys that made Mass Effect want to go make a Mass Effect with McConaughey, Yeah, man, give me that. I'll totally play that. Like it's cool, bro.
It looks like it's backed by Wizards of the Coast too, which is interesting.
Yeah,
it almost means that they could make a Magic game.
There probably will be a Magic crossover with it.
Maybe.
What are they called? The cards? What are the cards they call where it's like a crossover with the like real life
universe beyond?
Yeah,
planeswalkers. Yeah.
Let's see. Another crazy first-person or action news. We got an announcement for yet another DLC for Atomic Heart, Enchantment Under the Sea. And no, you do not get your mom and dad together. Apparently, you're just going underwater and fighting yet more Russian robots, like weird.
Who would have thunk?
Yeah. I don't know. Like some of the other ones of these have been a lot more striking, I think, than this one. It definitely, it's definitely has this kind of underwater scuba type of thing. And this kind of like.
Did you and Michael play this? And it was like, the controls were a little mid, so it was kind of a really weird, clunky experience.
It was also really difficult. It was like it was like hard, and I was like, no, I want to just experience a wacky world. I don't want to have to play
grind through it.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like maybe when they have a complete edition, maybe one day I'll go back and try this again. But it's like really interesting art design, but I don't know. There's also the really weirdly horny fridge, and there's like the horny ballerina robots.
Now you're talking.
Yeah.
A ballerina without a face that's horny. How?
Yeah.
Oh, you can tell.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, that's coming out next year, so we'll see. Let's see. We got a full 10-minute or 11-minute overview for Sin Duality: Echo of Ada. Blake, I don't know if you I don't know if this happens to you, but you ever be interested in a game and then you watch like one of these 10-minute like overviews about how the game works and you're like, "Oh, I'm no longer interested in this game."
Yeah. There's a little bit more of the learning curve, and as you continue to go up, my interest goes down.
Yeah.
So I feel like there is definite ways of getting me sucked in and then me going, no thank you. Like EVE Online did that, where it was like, holy shit, no fucking way am I going to learn all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
It kind of puts me off too from World of Warcraft, so I totally understand why how that happens. It literally happens very quickly, as you can tell. Like, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this, you got to do that. Path of Exile 2, great game. Doesn't make me feel like I'm going to have to keep going into this crazy fucking never-ending skill tree shit, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's is this game kind of do that, I guess? Does it just...
Well, so this game is based on... I actually watched like 2 or 3 episodes of an anime that this is called Sin Duality of Echo. And the whole point of it is that most of the world is like really hostile. So people get into these mech suits and they go out. But in order to really pilot a mech suit properly, you have to have a robot waifu that also is there with you in your mech suit, because of course you do.
Well, that's real life. I mean, in the game.
Yeah, like regular mech suit, that's bullshit. Put a hot fucking waifu in it and then have like a piece of the story where when you come back to base, the waifu is like, what is love? Then, now you're cooking. Now you're cooking with anime gas.
They saw Overwatch, like, why is the girl inside the mech? That's stupid. Just take her on the outside of it so you can do both at the same time.
After 3 episodes, I totally lost interest. And then when I watched this, it was like, oh, it's all about go to the surface, collect resources, use those resources to upgrade your mech. It's basically kind of a Monster Hunter / survival style game, but then it's also got a PvP, an open PvP mode where you can go into a map with other players, and then if you can team up with them to try to gather resources, or you can also try to like screw them over and take their resources after they've taken them. And it seems like that's mainly where the game is focused. Like, this trailer goes into a lot of detail about there's like a bounty system where if you keep stealing stuff from people, you get a bounty on you, and then there's like people who are bounty hunters and they'll come after you. And it's just like, oh man. And there's totally like a single player version, and we'll probably end up checking this out on RageSelect at some point. But the more they talked, the more it was like, oh, you had my attention at mechs, but then when you start talking about PvE, extraction shooter, screw your friends over, buy furniture for your base, have a conversation with your waifu, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's like 4 things in a row, and I'm just like,
You layered it with a bunch of bullshit that I'm not interested in.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe. They're having an open network test. And then, it's coming out January 23rd of 2025. So, I don't know. We'll see.
Very soon.
Yep. Let's see. This is another trailer that came out really just recently called Lost Soul Aside. This was a game that was announced a few years back. I first saw where it was like a kind of a third person, like if Black Myth Wukong better one. If not Astrobot. God, what's the one with the booby lady?
Resident Evil?
No,
by
PlayStation.
Bayonetta.
Stellar Blade. If Stellar Blade,
Blade
was a Nier Automata knockoff that was like, oh, everything you love about Nier Automata, but not quite as good. This to me looked a lot like a Final Fantasy 16 knockoff, where it's like,
right,
you got a guy and there's a girl and you're third person action game and you're skating around. There's all these particles going all over the place, but maybe not just like the greatest game of all time. And this is another one of those kind of like, I believe this is another one of those Chinese developer situations, and I think that it's like a very small team of like 2 or 3 people that have been working on it for a little while, but it looks fine-ish. Like,
yeah, it's like more power to them. It just looks, I don't know, it doesn't really set itself apart from anything that I've seen before. But I think, you know, it's all about how it feels, how it plays, and how it brings you into the characters. But it doesn't really do anything to introduce a character more than just look at this person and that person, and you know, there's not enough there yet.
Look at this guy in a jacket and a lady with her boobs out. And
doesn't it remind you of Final Fantasy? Let's look to the sky. Like, you could honestly just see Final Fantasy instead of Lost Soul Aside, and you wouldn't even blink.
Yeah, I actually thought that the initial announcement trailer was a little bit more compelling. Like, it had more story to it. Like, I think they just kind of put this out to like remind people that the game exists.
We're still here.
Yeah. Also, I feel like the original trailer was a little like sharper, and smoother. Like the new one seems like it has a little bit more of that Unreal Engine like fuzzy, janky pixeliness to it, but I could be wrong. It could just be that I'm not seeing it.
They also picked like an ice environment too, and like some sort of like a colder type.
Right. Obviously, I wanted to show off some new stuff. So, let's see. From there, we got the announcement for Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, the Hinokami Chronicles 2. So, the first one of these was basically turning Demon Slayer into kind of like a semi-open world style game, and it went up to basically right before the Mugen Train arc, so like the end of season 1, and then this is picking up from there and then going all the way through the Entertainment District arc, and then the Swordsmith Village arc that they just finished up. So it's strange to think like next year there's going to be 3 Demon Slayer movies, and then that's the end of Demon Slayer, and it's like, that was fast. Like,
yeah, that's like, it came and gone. Woo!
Yeah, there was like 1 season, and then a 2nd season, and then a 3rd season, and then 3 movies, and it's like, oh shit. You guys,
I mean, I really wish some animes would do that. One Piece. They're like, no, we're going to do 3 million episodes and 3 million movies and never call it done.
Yeah. But this is, I mean, you know, Demon Slayer, like for the arena fighter thing, it's a great property for that, right? You have all the different Hashiras that have different like powers, and they're really good at the kind of 3D, 2D, cell shaded cut scenes. You can see all this stuff in here that, I mean, it's like I've watched these cut scenes happen in the anime. All you got to do is remake them in the thing. So yeah,
they just got to be on point. It looks good.
Yeah, looks real good. Coming 2025. So this is another very strange one. Agatha Christie Death on the Nile was announced or revealed, I guess. This is from the same team that there was an Agatha Christie Murder on the Orient Express video game that apparently was not very well received, but
they're like, let's do it again, this time on the Nile.
It's just so weird how removed from... Like there was a movie. There was last year there was a Death on the Nile movie, and like a few years back there was a Murder on the Orient Express. But like, I don't know. It's just from Microids. They're a very low budget studio that kind of cranks them out. They just like kind of crank them out. So maybe it'll be okay. Maybe they'll learn some lessons from the last one. Who can say?
Maybe they'll make the next what is that Glass Onion game? Who knows?
Somebody's make Knives Out video games. Okay, well, how about a good detective story? Because at the Women-Led Games XTGA 2024, whatever that is, we got the announcement of the Duck Detective: The Ghost of Glamping, which is the sequel to the Duck Detective game that came out, which was basically Case of the Golden Idol, but with a bunch of adorable animals. It looks like Fredersen has joined the Duck Detective this time as his assistant, which is great. He was from the first game. This was like a $20 mystery game that was just adorable, had nice writing and nice voiceovers, and it wasn't exactly the hardest game in the world, but it was just like a damn good time.
Sometimes you need those. I've been doing that with Locomotive recently. It's just fun to go in and play hey, I just want a story to be unfolded, and I don't really want to do anything more than just watch it and be a little bit a part of it. So yeah, I think this hits a lot of different things for me. I'll probably check it out. Yeah,
check out the first one. It's cheap. You can beat it in a few hours, and it's got I think there's been a lot of good detective games recently. So, but yep. Let's see. We also got the launch trailer. Speaking of cute animals, we got the launch trailer for On Your Tail. This is something that I've been waiting for a little while, where it's another detective game where you play as this lady who rides a moped into this kind of like seaside town and investigates a bunch of different cases by using this like special lens that lets you see into the past and kind of collect clues and stuff. This trailer actually also shows off that there's a whole shitload of like mini games in addition to the detective stuff, that there's a bunch of characters that you can talk to and probably maybe romance or whatever, but there's also like little mini games that you could do, like a little Diner Dash game. There's like some arcade games that you can play, and it looks like they're all going to have some rewards that you can get. So, yeah.
I actually watched a friend play this on Twitch recently. It looked really cool.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if it just I think I watched it like yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, it just came out very recently, like within the last 4 days of us recording this. So I also thought that the art style was real nice. Like, it was announced like 2 or 3 years ago, and it looked like a really solid kind of mix of very expressive characters and kind of fun stuff.
The way it can kind of pull out and show you the environment and kind of keep to a similar style that it's trying to convey. It's kind of hard to describe, but once you kind of get it and see it, it looks very kind of board game-esque, but then kind of goes into a cool 3D world as well. So I don't know. It does capture a lot of cool aesthetic vibes.
Cool. Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it a try at some point before the year is out. But yeah. Let's see. We also had, speaking of cute stuff, the launch trailer for Naiad. This was announced a long time ago. This one was actually, I think, in like that cozy game thing, and then it was like, and it's out today. For anybody who forgot, this is a top-down game where you play as like a water nymph, like a naiad that's in the water, and I think it's got like a kind of a physics, you have to move your arms and legs to swim around, kind of cozy vibe to it, and then you just kind of swim around and interact with creatures.
It's like a lazy river game.
Yeah, and there's humans in here that you will interact with to like give them a hand or do stuff, but just a very like chill water.
It's a good time,
game.
Man.
Yeah,
a lot of good time with that. It looks like a water pastel painting of goodness.
Yeah, it's got a very distinct art style, and it looks pretty cool. So, you guys can all go check that out. Let's see. We have a few winter Christmas updates. A few more Christmas updates. I don't know if you saw this, Blake. We're actually between yesterday and today. There was another Fortnite announcement, and it's basically that Mariah Carey is in Fortnite singing that horrible song that we've all heard a fucking billion times, and she's literally in Fortnite now. So.
Is that Shaq behind her?
Yes, along with Snoop Dogg and some other characters. But I saw some videos of, apparently there's a place on the Fortnite map where you can go, and if you just stand there long enough, she just kind of pops out of the ground and starts singing that song that we all have to hear in Target 6 billion times.
That's pretty funny, actually. That's pretty on point.
Yeah. I think that they should see. Now, I think that if they really wanted to do the Mariah Carey Christmas experience right, there shouldn't be any way to turn the song off. When you start playing Fortnite, it should start, and it should not stop playing that song until you turn off Fortnite, and you're not allowed to adjust the music volume either.
Or maybe it could be a weapon as it shoots bullets and you get hit. The song gets louder and louder and louder. I love it.
That'd be great. A candy cane gun that shoots Mariah Carey bullets. something that I will engage with because I'm not playing fucking Mariah Carey games. Power Wash Simulator, which adds a million things, added a new free Christmas level, which is an ice skating rink that has this little. It's a very small level. I think we might do a video for it where it's just like a little rink full for ice skating, and in the middle it's got like kind of a little festive Christmas display that you can look at. So,
clean Christmas up, y'all.
Dude, Power Wash Simulator ain't no joke.
Ain't no joke. It cleans up everything, and even your mood.
I finished. What was it, like the Alice in Wonderland or whatever the one was before that? And like I wasn't gonna buy the Shrek stuff, and then I bought and played all the Shrek levels, and I was like, I'm not even the biggest fan of Shrek, but I just need to clean. I need more things to clean.
I need to clean my swamp.
Yep. Let's see. Ooh, we're low on time. Okay. Also, Astrobot has a full kind of holiday themed level where you can go in and it's got like jingle bells and Christmas and presents and all kinds of good stuff. Oh, wow. This is totally in the wrong order. Okay. They're remaking the Talos Principle. So this is a puzzle game from a few years back, and they just announced that they're basically remastering it into a new version. This is all about kind of these like androids solving like logic puzzles, so it's got a very specific vibe to it, but people really enjoy it, and it's coming at some point next year. So
nice.
We also got the announcement of a sequel to a game called Toem that was a little taking pictures game. So you played, it was like a top down thing where it was all in black and white, and you would kind of take pictures of different stuff. And they're making a second one, and it's all going to be in 3 dimensions. So, no, I don't think there's a
picture perfect right there.
Yeah, I don't think there's a specific release date just yet, but like you can see that this is what the original looked like, and so they've really jazzed it up into 3D. So. And then also Balatro got a Friends of Jimbo 3-pack, which added more. All these do is add cosmetics to certain cards based on other video games. This is an interesting group of games. They did Divinity Original Sin 2, obviously because they asked Larian, and Larian doesn't have the rights for Baldur's Gate, but they were like, you can do our other game all day, every day. Let's see, they did Shovel Knight. They get some Shovel Knight cards, Potion Craft, I believe. Enter the Gungeon.
Enter the Gungeon, that's funny.
Cult of the Lamb, Don't Starve.
Oh, there you go.
And then 1000X Resist, which was so weird. Like, I'd heard about this before, and then when this happened, it was why I put it on the dojo last week. And then also Warframe. So this is an eclectic
group. They are going hard at doing all these collaborations, and it's smart because it's a way to keep that shit. It keeps it moving.
Yep. I actually ordered. They announced that they'll sell you a deck of the cards from Balatro, like of the original stuff on them, and I was like, all right, I'll spend $50 on that.
You're like, fine, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Lightning round. Okay. Final Fantasy 14 Mobile. We've been curious about how it's going to look. We got our first kind of look at it on Twitter from a leaker. It is very much not full Final Fantasy 14 and very much a phone game.
Mobile game.
So
yeah.
You can go check that out. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's an answer to a question that we had. So we got the PlayStation Plus games for December, and one of the inclusions here is interesting because it is Forspoken from last year. So if you ever wanted to try Forspoken, but you didn't actually want to pay money for Forspoken, now you can give it a try if you've got PS Plus. In addition, there's a bunch of other games on there like the Space for the Unbound, which is kind of a lot of like this is the one though I think everybody should check out. Fist, Forged in Shadow Torch, which is a Metroidvania game about a rabbit with a giant mechanical fist hand, and it is like a Metroidvania. I got so close to finishing it, and then I just didn't, but it's a really fun 2D action game.
Looks dope.
Yeah.
Looks awesome.
Yep. Yeah. It was good. It was 2021, so. Let's see. Microsoft put a bunch of the oldest Call of Duty games on the Microsoft Store. So people are thinking that this is a precursor to them coming to Game Pass, because like the first and second Call of Duty, Call of Duty Allied Offensive, and then Call of Duty 2, the big red one, were only PC games. This is before they were putting those out on the consoles. So the idea that they've added those to the store means that we very well might see them come to Game Pass soon. At least PC
I'd be
Game
down.
Pass.
I remember getting both of those games as soon as they launched.
Yeah.
Way back in the day. It'd be fun to play them again.
Yeah. Let's see. Capcom has opened up the floodgates because they came out with a statement basically saying that, like, so first they put out the trailers for the new Onimusha and a new Okami. And then in one of their statements, there was like a shareholder statement. They basically said, we are very committed to going back to our past library and bringing titles back out that people have an interest in, because they've learned that they're sitting on basically several gold mines. Yeah. So last week, Michael was so excited because that means there's a chance that Beautiful Joe might finally finish. Matt, I'm sure, is also excited because that means that Dino Crisis is back on the menu, boys.
I'll take Breath of Fire. I've always liked Breath of Fire.
I am holding out for the Darkstalkers. I always loved the Darkstalkers. So, but any of this is fine with me. Capcom's been on a roll recently, so do your thing. Let's see. Lego Fortnite has launched a new mode called Brick Life that is basically Grand Theft Auto. It's basically Lego Grand Theft Auto inside of Fortnite, and because you can play it with your Fortnite avatars, it means that you can like take your Snoop Dogg avatar into basically Lego Grand Theft Auto. And I'm just like, damn, you guys really just like fuse that shit together like Voltron.
They did it right, man. They're just like, you do take this, take that, you push it together, and you're still able to do your shit. I mean, the fact that like Fortnite has Lego in it and it has an entirely separate, like, what the fuck is the menu screen on Fortnite look like anymore? Like, how the hell do you like navigate through all of this shit? Holy God.
It's pretty complicated. They also have they have the racing game that was made by the Rocket League folks. They have basically Guitar Hero is now just part of Fortnite, where you just go in, pick Deadpool, and then go play fucking Beastie Boys in Fortnite. And here's Grand Theft Auto, but it's Legos, and it's just like, damn, man, you guys need to calm the shit down. You just
you need to calm your
I'm talking about,
man.
like, in this podcast, I've talked about Grand Theft Auto, Skibbity Toilet, Counter-Strike, and Mariah Carey all in a week are in Fortnite. I'm just like, Jesus, guys, leave a little for the rest of us.
Mind explodes.
Yep. Hyperlight Breaker got a release date, so people have been waiting for this for a while. This is the Hyperlight Drifter sequel, and it's going into early access in January of 2025. So mark your calendars. Let's see. This is pretty cool. James Wan has decided that he wants to direct a TV show based on Pacific Drive, and I think that's a fucking great idea.
Great idea. Yeah.
Because you need like one person with a compelling story and then a bunch of radio, and then it's all just like driving and like special effects. And even the stuff that's in Pacific Drive is not exactly like difficult. Like, it's like giant glowing things and like mannequins on the road.
I would almost attribute it to something like a movie like Rubber, if you've ever seen that, where like it's like a killer tire. You could do something with the car, like Christine or something, like, and kind of keep it where the main character may not even have to be like front and center. It could just be the car. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think that'd be cool. They figure out a way to do that. So
as long as they get some good writers, I think it'll be fine. Let's see. X Defiant put out a new patch. This is the last one because they're shutting down X Defiant. So there's 3 new factions. Obviously, this was in development ahead of time. So, they've got the Assassins, the Wolves, and the Cyber Soldiers from Blood Dragon. This was Ubisoft's attempt at like an Overwatch crossover game where all the Tom Clancy guys fought each other. And surprise, surprise, it didn't actually work.
Didn't pan out. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. But a good news for Ubisoft, the Notre Dame Cathedral opened, and one of the things that helped with that was the intense like scans and documentation they did for Assassin's Creed Unity. So when they opened it, the Assassin's Creed channel put out a little like hurrah thing talking about how awesome of a game Unity is. It is not. It is not a good game.
It's a broken fucking mess, and it has been since it was released. But it is cool that it's somehow impacted life in some weird way.
Yeah. I played it all the way to the end, and let me tell you this, even without the bugs, it was still not a very good game. So
I believe it.
And last but not least, this was last week's news, but by the time this comes out, it'll be slightly passe, but it's a great way to end this podcast.
Because you love Sonic the Hedgehog,
Sonic,
right?
This was pretty fun, though, is there was a thing called the Sonic... Very Sonic Christmas that was kind of done in a Rankin Bass style, and they put out a series of movie posters that were all spoofs of old movie posters, but with Sonic. So they did one for Home Alone, that has Sonic as Kevin, and then the Wileys in the background. One for A Christmas Story, which is pretty fun.
That is fun.
They did one for The Nightmare Before Christmas with Robotnik. The Grinch. They did one for fucking Scrooged, which is really funny. So somebody in the marketing department had a good time making this stuff. So
yeah, you could tell. That's really fun. That's really clever marketing.
And they even did one for Love Actually. Which is a Christmas movie, I guess. But they fucking put fucking the hedgehog and the kid the fucking they put them in the Love Actually poster. So
now, which one's fuck the Sonic in that movie? I'm just curious.
I don't know.
Isn't Love Actually like a movie about like literally it's just like there's like sex scenes everywhere? I know. Never mind.
No idea. Never watched it. Couldn't tell you. And Christmas Vacation. So, but yeah, and with that, we're done. That's it. That's the last podcast. 2024. That's a wrap on 2024. Blake, do you have any thoughts on 2024 before we call this thing done?
I mean, it was my first year of fatherhood. It's been an interesting run, but it's been good, and I look forward to a 2025. But yeah, that is a wrap on 2024, and thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I was gonna talk about how honored I am. Like, you're like, well, I became a father for the first time, and I'm like, what?
I kind of trumped you. Yeah, maybe I should just
I played Space Marine 2. Okay, wait,
and you beat it.
You played Space Marine 2 as well. Damn.
You played Metaphor Phantasmo, so there you go.
I did play 100 hours of Metaphor ReFantasio. I finished an Atlas RPG this year. I have not done that. Last year I got like one a year. Last year it was Baldur's Gate. This year it was Metaphor. And man, I almost quit Metaphor several times. Like I
got through it,
but I did.
You got through it, just like 2024. You put a wrap on it.
I couldn't stop 85 hours into a fucking Atlas RPG. It was just like, come on. And then you get to the end, and it keeps ending, and then ending, and then ending,
God, the
and then
endless
ending,
endings.
and then
more than Lord of the Rings.
Oh my God, Metaphor ReFantasio literally ends and then does 1 year later. And like it puts you back on the ground, and you get to go talk to everybody. And I'm just like, guys, wrap it up. Much like this podcast, you need to wrap it up. So, hey, to the people who just, for all the rest of you people who watch the videos, whatever, I'm going to see you guys next week. But like for the people that just listen to the podcast, couldn't appreciate you more. Thanks for your support. RageSelect has been going for 11 years now. Next year will be, in July of next year, will be 12 years old. So we couldn't do it without your support. So have yourself a wonderful, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, have a good Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, whatever, the Festivus for the rest of us. You guys all have a great, safe, and happy time off. Play some video games to get away from your family if you need to. And we'll see you next year with more of the RageSelect podcast. Bye, everybody.